Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Hansen, joined by Andrew Reiner.
Yeah, hey man.
What's wrong with you?
Tired.
Rubbing your face already. We got a long way to go. This is a hell of a show.
I'm mad as hell as well.
All right, let's talk about it. We also have Matt Burtz.
How you doing?
And JV Waltley.
Hey, what's up, man?
Not much. Welcome, sir. All right, we got a lot going on this show. We're talking about Battlefront 2, kind of a round two after that tease from last week, and I think things have changed a little bit.
Slightly.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this. After that, we have just a roundup of a ton of ports coming to the Switch. Things to talk about, so that's why everyone else is here. Then we're going to hot swap around. We're going to talk about Destiny Curse of Osiris, the upcoming expansion to Destiny 2 that Suriel's played. Need for Speed Payback, which is an interesting story as well. Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. We have a surprise interview happening in this episode that could happen at any moment, JV. At any moment whatsoever. So stay on the lookout for that. Then we have some great emails. And then also back half of the show, we have a whole segment dedicated to video game music from the year 2017.
Ooh.
We're going to break down 3 of our favorite tracks from the year. We're starting to get to that time where...
Is it like a listening party?
That's right. Yeah, it's really going to be great. But we're at that point where there's not too much else coming out throughout the year. Battlefront 2 seemed like the last biggie, right?
Xenoblade, right?
Xenoblade.
December 1?
Yeah, which is a game that's probably going to have great music. But just so far, we're going to break down our favorite video game track. So it should be a good time. For now, Andrew Reiner, Star Wars Battlefront 2. This has been a big thing this week.
Yeah, huge. Boy, where do we even begin with
I have
this?
no
There's
idea.
So many components to the
In
game.
a galaxy far, far away. Is where you
Let's
start.
pick up where we left off last week, which was, you're 3 missions into the campaign. It's surprisingly fun. I'm really into it. What happened after that point?
So whoever put together that trial and cut it off after 3 chapters, ingenious move, because that's where it falls off. And it completely falls off like you would not believe.
Gameplay, story, what are we talking about?
The gameplay remains consistent, and the gameplay wasn't the driving force of it. What I liked out of the gate was Iden Versio and a story being told from the Imperial perspective.
Yeah.
You know, that feeling of, holy crap, there's stormtroopers around me, and they're on my side. I'm not supposed to shoot them. Like, that always messed with my brain. Like, I want to shoot. Well, nope, don't do that. So what happens next is it transitions to Luke Skywalker for a mission, and that becomes the beginning of kind of a repetitive process of introducing heroes over and over and over. I don't want to say who they are for the sake of spoilers for people who want to go through it.
Is it kind of clumsy, just jumping to somebody
It's
else?
super clumsy.
Oh, no.
It derails the narrative, but it's already been, at this point, it's already been completely destroyed by a plot twist that just kind of goes against everything, and it is so poorly handled, and there's no coming back from that. So then it's like, well, that's not great. So then you're just kind of bouncing from hero to hero, and you start thinking, like, why is this happening in this game? Like, why am I going from hero to hero? And it's like, some of these guys, like, I have to pay for them for multiplayer. Like, so this is kind of a trial. And it's like, were these characters just kind of wedged into the framework to make me think about wanting to buy them, you know, play more of the multiplayer, buy more loot crates to get credits, you know, get dupes, you know, duplicate cards to get me more credits. Like, it all seems to kind of be diseased, the entire game.
Is there saving it? And we'll definitely get into all that stuff. But if I just want like a AAA Star Wars campaign, is it an okay time still to go through if I just divorce myself from all microtransactions, all of the multiplayer nonsense?
Yeah, I mean, it's short. You know, you can get through it in like 5 hours or so. I think that's what I clocked my time being. There's a nice payoff at the end. The plot, like, there's a big moment that happens right at the end, like in the last like 15 seconds. You're like,
okay,
that's cool. And you're like, well, now I got to wait for a sequel. Will they ever make it? And it's like, well, no. They have those seasons coming out, the seasons of content, which follow Iden's story. So there's going to be, hopefully, more resolve there. Although there is like a lot of time passage, so they could continue her story before the time passage happens. I don't know.
Didn't they tease some Last Jedi tie-in in one of those things?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's jumping to that timeline?
Yes.
Good God. Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to say who you play as in the campaign, but there are some interesting things.
Yeah.
So yes, to answer your question, is it an okay time? Yeah, it's okay. Just don't expect this grand new story, which I thought it was starting out to be. You know, the Imperial perspective, seeing Star Wars from that angle, you know, is controversial and different. And, you know, as a big Star Wars fan, it was cool to see that, like what's going through their minds, not just the Rebel Alliance, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that all just kind of falls apart and becomes a mess.
Okay, so what is the overall overriding sensation was the big talking point with this game then?
The microtransactions.
And why? I'm still confused about how they actually are implemented in the game.
Well, I mean, it's pay to win. I mean, straight up, like, we could have one of the best Star Wars multiplayer experiences of all time, but we have this crap in the game that is just like making an unbalanced battlefield for everyone. So no matter who you are, you're not going to come on there and be like, okay, we all have a fighting chance. Johnny over in Kentucky, he might have an A-wing that has 20% faster turning radius than you, and its weapons, with the mods on it, do 40% more damage, 30 to 40% more damage. That's unheard of.
Like,
this
who
isn't
designed
like
this?
These star cards you're buying in these loot crates. It's not giving you little bumps most of the time. It's significant, not like 1%, 2%, 5%. Even 10% would be like, holy crap. And that's like the base model for most of these star cards, which have 4 levels. So it's like 10, 20, 30, 40, or 10, 15, 20, 25%. It's ridiculous how uneven the surface can be at times.
Okay, so I'm still confused about this, but you can unlock those star cards on your own?
No.
Not at all. You have to pay.
Well, here's the thing. Yes, so if you have crafting material, you can unlock a card of your choice. But where do you get the crafting materials? You're getting those in loot crates or one-time challenges that you can complete. But you're getting like, okay, you completed this challenge, you get 15 crafting material. What's that going to do for me? Not much. That's like a third of the way to where I need to be.
Okay.
So it's the loot crates. It all falls onto these loot crates, which you buy with in-game currency, but they are not doling out money like you would expect. Like, so you win a match, it's a big, like 30, 40-minute match, like this huge battle. Maybe 40 is a little extreme on the time, but you're in there for a while, and then you get 300 credits, and a crate that you want is 4,000. So it's like, okay, that's a day of my life to get a crate, and you're hoping to get stuff that will put you ahead of other players, right? So you open your crate, and you might end up getting an emote for the Emperor, or like a victory pose, or a victory pose for someone. And you're like, well, that's a waste.
Yeah.
Or a card for a different class you don't play, or let's say you don't even play like Starfighter stuff. You might get like something for like a land speeder, and you're like, that's great.
So what did they change? All I saw is some headline about them reducing something by 75%.
Yeah. So you also use the same currency, the same currency that you're using on loot crates, you're using on the heroes. So you have this conflict of goods now, right? So you're like, well, I should be saving up for cards that will make me better. Like there's one in particular, like called Bounty Hunter, which will give you a 20 at the highest level will give you 20% higher battle points per round. And battle points are what you use in game, in mid-match to be able to play as, the heroes or vehicles. So that's very important because those things can wreck, right? You get like Kylo Ren and you're going to be racking up the kills, right? So being able to get 20% more battle points is huge for every kill, everything you do. That is such a pay to win tactic, right? So, you're like, well, I want to get that. But then at the same time, it's like, boy, this is Star Wars. I'd really like to play as Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker. But to go back to the campaign, you get a taste of them. They're locked. They're 15,000 credits. And before people complained, they were 60,000. So wrap your brain around that. You win a match, you get 300 credits. 60,000 is what they were intending for launch until people complained and downvoted that Reddit post, making it the most downvoted Reddit post of all time.
Yeah.
And then they just overreacted. They're like, 75%. And it just seemed like such an arbitrary number. Like, do you even have a grasp of what's going on over there?
It really is crazy that a game can change that dramatically, that close to release. Like, change the entire economy this much, go. Like, it's unprecedented as far as I know.
Yeah, it's... I really, like, I'm baffled by this. Like, seriously, like, this whole thing, like, DICE. I love DICE. I love DICE games. Battlefield, fantastic.
Yeah.
Bert's is a big fan, too.
I'm really worried about Battlefield next year.
Oh, God.
If they do this to Battlefield, I
wonder how much they're just thinking that maybe a casual crowd would be more open to the end, that Star Wars crowd would be more willing to pony up and pay extra for this stuff.
I don't know, but Battlefield, like, all the unlocks are more aesthetic, like everything
Yeah.
in the crates are aesthetics. Nothing really changes the dynamic of the balance. You can still buy upgrades you want. You don't have to wait for a loot crate to get the right sniper rifle scope that you want. You can just
Yeah.
spend the credits on it.
Hopefully,
And like if all this changes, Blake Jurgensen gave a talk this week, and he was talking about how they thought Battlefield 4 was a big missed opportunity for them because
who's Blake Jurgensen?
he's one of the executives, the
Okay.
CFO, I think. So he was saying Battlefield 4, we still have such great engagement with it. We just didn't capitalize on that market. I'm really worried about Battlefield now.
I have no faith whatsoever in EA as a publisher. Like at this point, I just no. I just don't.
It's
And
been a
here's-
rough year. Go ahead.
Here's the
Ryan.
thing too. There's an unknown quantity to this. Like when you're in battle, and let's say you start really getting accustomed to like, okay, someone threw a thermal detonator, I'll be safe over here. Right? You start to
Sure.
know ranges and
Yeah.
know your way around the battlefield. But when they start changing the blast radius on them, for Bertz throws one, it's at 5. You Hansen throw one and it's at 7. That dramatically changes it. So it's like you don't know it until you die. And then this isn't unheard of for games to show you the payload of your opponent, right? But in this game, they show you the star cards that were used to kill you. And that is, I mean, it's like that EA or that Activision patent
Yeah.
of like, oh, hey, look at this. Bertz killed me with a thermal detonator with a level 4 thermal detonator. I should get that. That seemed really powerful. So all around, it just feels really evil, out of character for DICE. And again, to go back to my point, like this could be like probably hands down the best Star Wars multiplayer experience because when you're just in there having fun, it is fantastic.
Oh, great. Okay.
It is gorgeous. It plays well. Those weapons pack a punch. Playing as the heroes is really good fun too, and it feels like a nice reward for doing well on the battlefield. But again, you could have that progress halted by something you don't feel is fair, and someone like having a level 4 card when you're standing toe to toe with them, and oh hey, he had 30% more shield.
It just
Great.
It just sounds like it totally removes any competitive element from
It
the
does,
game. It
yeah,
becomes
yeah.
like a metagame bullshit.
And we've
Time
seen
sink and
examples
money
of
sink.
this. We've seen examples where, like, when you mess with the competitive balance of a game, there's a revolt. And is EA operating in a vacuum? Do these people not look what happens to other people?
But I think, without having inside knowledge, I'd imagine the business people are looking at people like 2K, right, with NBA this year and seeing like, wow, you put more microtransactions, get more out of it. Let's just roll with that and not necessarily. It's tough to put concrete numbers, I guess, on like, the multiplayer community is going to be a little more riled up. Whereas here, it's like, hey, there's a bigger dollar sign over here. Let's just go for that. Is it just that simple, do you think?
Everything needs to be done with consideration, and this clearly wasn't. I don't know. I feel like I'm curious if Bob Iger's going to call EA and say, what are you guys doing to my brand over there?
Yeah.
You guys screwed up one of the games already and you're going back to the shop with it. You've pissed off our entire community right before we're about to launch a huge movie.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell are you doing, EA?
It's really crazy. I mean, to think of like the arc too of Battlefront 2, like Battlefront, there are defenders out there for the first one. It's like, okay, could use some more content. Then to get out of the gates and say single player campaign in this one, I was like, this seems perfect. It's exactly what I want. And now for multiplayer, just to be, is it just a miserable experience? Is it just grading? What is the right word?
It's really like I said in my review, it's fun. It's big, bombastic, and fun. And, you can have a great time with it until you start really seeing like, man, we were toe to toe. I was on this kill streak. If I could have killed a couple more, man, I could have got my hero. That guy killed me with a level 4 card. It's like, that guy's a whale. He's got all 4 level, all 3 of his cards are level 4. You start thinking about that more than just the conflict itself or your skills. And I think that's really unfair to the player. And it's a shame too, because man, this game is lovingly made by DICE. Like it is seriously, like these battles are fun. The maps are unique. They, take advantage of the Star Wars universe in different ways to really like change the dynamics of the battle. I love that. But yeah, it just all comes down to just this evil, insidious, awful microtransaction model. It's predatory. It's terrible.
JV, is there any chance you're going to play this?
No, absolutely no. Like I might play the single player, but I'll never touch that multiplayer. Like no, that no.
I mean, I wish they could just get rid of it, but at this point, it's too late. to get rid of those cards because people are already investing in them, right? Now they can start tweaking the numbers on them. You know, have people spend a lot of money, and they can start lowering the percentages to balance it out a little more. But
like the whales have already spent their money and they'll get pissed.
Or they are, yeah.
And you know they're planning, like, there's only 4 tiers right now. You know, 5, 6, and 7 are like...
Oh, God, yeah.
Are they going to be expanding that?
I mean, it only goes up to 4. That's a weird number, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Hey, guys, remember that one year EA was voted, was it the worst company?
No, that was 2 years in a row.
It was 2 years
Yeah. And, you know, at that point, I was like, no, Comcast still exists.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, to speak to EA, they did the right thing, right? In like, okay, we answered your call. You wanted more content. You wanted a single-player campaign. We set up 3 separate studios to give you a new story-driven experience with someone you haven't seen in Star Wars before. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out, but on paper, great. Criterion, we had them do space combat to really up that up, and that's the best part of the game, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like, it is super fun to fly around in, like, the debris of a Death Star.
Yeah, it really is.
And have dogfighting. And when you're going against skilled players, like, it is intense. You're zooming along the surface of Star Destroyers, trying to outrun, like, torpedoes. It's awesome. And then you have DICE, one of the best multiplayer manufacturers out there, working on, you know, their second round with this game and really upping the scale and doing more things with it, making it bigger, more maps, all that stuff, more characters to play as. On paper, it sounds great. But then someone, I don't know who, if it's the collective, if it's all of EA, because you're seeing this in Need for Speed in their other games, inserting this microtransaction model and really trying to milk players along the whole way, that's where it really falls apart. This could have been probably a 9+ game. Really? I haven't really thought about that, but you know, like the story campaign holds it back a little, but this could have been an amazing multiplayer experience. Yeah. And it just feels unfair.
So coming from the community standpoint, because what'd you end up scoring this game?
6.5. I
saw some comments. I'm curious to get your take of just people being like, I don't get it. Like Shadow of War got a 9.5 and there's BS microtransactions in there. Like how...
I've played some of that game. I've never even thought about them.
Right. That was a different reviewer, but how should we tackle this in reviews? Like how do you communicate this to people?
I think it's an integral part of any game. It's just how it affects it, right? And then you see one more thing. Like now it's getting into free-to-play territory. You pay $60 for a box good or, you know, a digital download. And then you're starting to see things like, hey, I just want to sit with my friend and play arcade mode, co-op or whatever. We'll earn some currency that way. And then they gate you. Like you play 5 challenges. There's 16 in the game. So you can't even earn rewards for all of them if you just want to go through those. They cut you off after 5 victories of earning currency in an arcade challenge. And it says, come back in 14 hours. That's the kind of crap we saw on mobile that really started to make mobile a terrible place to play games.
Wait, so is this like that horde mode, like the split screen stuff that was in the first one even?
Yeah, it's kind of like that, where you're taking out waves of enemies, or they kind of set up some fake multiplayer matches with bots, right?
Yeah.
And that stuff's fun because you're using the heroes and they give you access to everything, but then they cut off the currency that you need to use to buy the loot crates that can help you in other modes.
So you can't pay to get rid of that timer, but it's just cutting you off from finding any
it's
other
just
way
like
other than...
go do something else. Hey, kid, you're done here. Like, go play multiplayer. Go buy some loot crates. Go, you know, play the campaign.
God.
It's awful.
And it seems like the genesis of all this is, you hear this from both developers and publishers, is $60 doesn't cut it anymore when it comes to how expensive games are to make. Just charging $60 doesn't pay for the game.
And I think we're a little bit spoiled in America that we still get games for $60.
Yeah, but what's interesting, like, I'm really curious, like, would you guys rather pay like $80 up front?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I
would pay like, you know, 90 to 100 if it meant like
an even playing field.
Yeah, like
for multiplayer.
You know, if it's a quality product, hell yeah. Like I was talking with someone about this the other day. Like Titanfall 2, I'd pay $100 for Titanfall 2 as is, like straight up for that campaign and that multiplayer. Not a question.
Would you pay $4,000 for Wolfenstein 2?
I would kill everyone in this room for Wolfenstein 2.
Wow.
Luckily, Bethesda sent copies here.
Yeah, I'd rather keep the money than have our lives. That's great.
Anything else you want to get off your chest, Reiner? Is that everything?
I mean, I could talk about this forever. I mean, it really is unfortunate. But one thing I'll say to the $70, $80 games, EA's been launching all their games now. 3 days early, you get the deluxe edition for $80. Mm-hmm. So I went to Target last night, and I was just kind of taken aback because I thought only the digital edition was out early through EA Access or whatever. But it turns out the retail version of the deluxe edition is out, and then 3 days later, they'll add the standard edition. So they are kind of testing a higher price point, right? And other people chimed in, like Gears of War did that. Like there's certain other games. So it seems like the industry might be moving that direction to a higher price point. But let's face some facts here. These, they have investors. EA has investors. They're always looking at the bottom line, making more money. They know loot crates and microtransactions will always get them, more money. They'll keep them in the game and have the higher price. That's probably what's going to end up happening. Maybe they won't be as evil. Maybe more like Overwatch, just cosmetics, which doesn't affect the flow of game at all.
I'm totally fine with that.
That seems like such a simple line in the sand. Just adhere to it.
And think about
Make it a fashion business.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Wars is ripe for that. You could have different rebel officers outfits, Imperials, clone troopers. Man, you can do whatever you want with those.
Skywalker outfits.
Yeah, I mean,
different Luke faces before and after that car accident.
Oh boy!
They introduce a new version of Han Solo, a different look for him in this game in the campaign. But it's just like, nope, you're spending money to make these guys more powerful. That's all you're doing.
Good God. Hey, on the lighter side of things, Nintendo Switch is really booming, huh, fellas?
Yeah,
oh, boy.
it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Finally, some games are coming out there. It feels like a big third-party wave has kind of just hit the Switch. First off, because we've probably played it the least, L.A. Noire on Switch. Bert, you played that?
Yeah, a little bit.
What is it like to go back to that, especially in a handheld version?
Oh, the faces actually still look great.
Really?
I don't know why they don't use motion scan more often. I still love that technology. I'd like to see Rockstar use it again.
Yeah.
The big change for this game, and it's actually across all the platforms, whether you're playing the VR version, the PS4, and Xbox One Enhanced Editions. You remember when you'd have the interrogations with Cole Phelps? He sometimes would just fly off the handle. You'd be like, whoa, settle down, dude. Like, why are you freaking out on this person? Because the options before were like truth, doubt, and lie.
Yep.
They've changed that mechanic to be good cop, bad cop, and accuse.
Interesting. I didn't know they modified it that much. Okay.
So that's across every platform, and I've only played 3 of the cases maybe where I got to see how it happens, and so far it does feel way more natural. He's not flying off the handle just uncontrollably when you don't expect it.
Yeah.
So that's been a really nice transition. But like I've seen Doom as well, this game, it's got some technical issues. It runs generally well, but the pop-up is pretty. It's like a block down the street. You're going to start to see trees pop in.
When you're in the open world.
Yeah, when you're in the handheld mode, it's not nearly as noticeable, but when you're on the big screen, 1080p, you're going to see some more stuff, like kind of the silhouette around a character. You'll see like a weird like tearing kind of issue there.
Huh, okay.
So there's just little technical things that, like you're going to notice, but the game runs well. You get all the DLC in the game, so any of the cases that you may or may not have played before.
Yeah.
And this is the first Rockstar game on a Nintendo platform since Chinatown Wars. It's a long time ago for the DS.
Right? Like Manhunt, does that count?
I think that came out before Chinatown Wars.
Holy
the
cow,
Wii
really?
version?
Okay, yeah. That's wild. Yeah, it's weird to see so relatively early in the Switch's life Rockstar of all companies to get behind it. But it also is out on Xbox One and PS4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
4K.
And
Xbox
another
One X.
There we go.
Another weird one that, I couldn't. What was the last time Doom was on a Nintendo platform?
Super Nintendo?
Super Nintendo.
Yeah, maybe.
Good God.
Having
you've
a
been playing-
Doom.
Yeah.
Oh no, Nintendo
Wait, N64.
64.
Yeah.
N64.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, so how does Doom play?
Doom's,
on the Switch?
I mean, it's, again, technical problems, but you're playing Doom on the go.
Yeah.
Same campaign. Arcade mode, which is really fun if you just want to dive back in. I've played the campaign twice already. It's like, I'm not going to just go through the campaign. I'm just going to go into the arcade mode, play my favorite levels. They let you pick your runes or weapons and your weapon mods and just go for a high score. That's a lot of fun. The multiplayer's in there too.
Some people like it.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's
I'll
what
be
they
damned.
say.
For
It's
the-
snap mode.
For
but-
the love of God, don't play it on a television screen though.
oh, it's muddy.
It looks real bad.
Oh, really?
It looks
Yeah.
worse than 720p, which is what Bethesda kind of said. Like, it'll run at 720p on your big screen. I don't know about that, man.
It definitely looks like a game that's being played on ultra low settings on a PC. Like
Okay.
everything's super muddy and stuff. Like,
But as a handheld, it's still the same, but you just don't notice it as much.
It's still
the
noticeable.
illusion is strong that it's not the same.
Okay.
Like to me, it looks better on handheld. Like it actually looks more like maybe medium or like low. I don't know.
Medium to low. But you were worried in an earlier podcast that it wouldn't run at 60. It runs at 60. Right?
No.
It
30.
runs at 30. But they
Really?
But it feels like they've made like or changes like with that. Like the enemies move slower.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And
so-
I honestly
Oh,
think that's
weird.
because of the analog stick, too.
Yeah.
The analog stick it's just not a controller built for, the Joy-Cons aren't built for first-person shooter
Yeah.
Yeah.
grip. So I really had a problem. I would never play multiplayer with that configuration.
Maybe with a Pro Controller.
Yeah,
or
Pro
something.
Controller is
Pro Controller's
fantastic.
great,
Okay.
yeah.
The gameplay's great. That's definitely the way to go if you're serious about playing Doom.
Yeah.
You sold me on LA Noire, not Doom.
Yeah, no.
It's still the same campaign.
It's
Well,
a
it is-
cool
I mean,
novelty.
30 frames per second, and the monsters move slower, and it doesn't look good, and it doesn't control well
No,
unless
but-
you have the Pro Controller. That's not selling
But
me
you
on
can walk
anything.
around the block and play it, right? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, you still like pop it to your coffee shop, take your Pro Controller with you if you want and still play it. Like
Did
that,
you just
blast-
say puppeteer? What?
pop into your coffee shop.
Oh,
JV, pop into your coffee shop. Just blast Doom music as you're
it was
taking care of
Yeah,
demons.
no, I did that some over the weekend. It was fun. It was still a fun experience. It's definitely, I think Bert's on the same page here, like the worst version of that game, though,
Yeah.
right? Like,
But
if you have
Nintendo-
like PC or like PS4 and you don't mind playing it not on the go, you should definitely play the other platforms.
Yeah. But if you're a Nintendo person who just plays Nintendo platforms, by all means play the campaign.
Yeah, and actually Kyle had a really good point about this, like how he was excited for it. Fellow editor Kyle Hilliard, because he could finally play Doom on, because he has a kid and he can't play
Hang
Doom
on,
in front
Kyle
of his
has a
kid.
kid?
Yeah.
He never brings that
He
up.
never
I'll
brings
be
it up
damned.
once. But there's also like a bigger audience there too of like people who don't want to play like violent games in front of their kids.
Yeah, I think there is an audience for it. I'm very curious how it's going to sell.
I mean, it was number 2 when the week it came out.
Okay.
Like, so it's doing pretty well.
Behind Mario, I'd assume.
Yeah, behind Mario. Actually, it was 3 behind Mario and Stardew. People are still buying the hell out of Stardew.
Of course, it'll never be stopped. Hey, Leo Vader in the booth.
Hi.
World's biggest Rocket League fan.
That's correct.
No exaggeration. Is Rocket League your favorite game of all time?
Yeah. I mean, it's up there. It's at least number 3.
you said Hitman.
My mind keeps changing.
You got to make it up right now. But anyways, you've been checking out Rocket League on Switch, right?
Yes.
How is that thing?
It's the opposite of Doom. It doesn't look very good in handheld, but it looks great on the TV. It looks every bit as good as PS4 version.
Really? That's so weird. How's the Joy-Con controls?
They're fine. You can play like one person with each Joy-Con, which is actually lethal and will make your hands fall off. It's terrible. But with the individual Joy-Cons, it's very fun. It controls really well. The frame rate is a solid 60, except occasionally with explosions, it'll slow down a little bit.
That
when
is
you
not
destroy the
a
cars.
solid 60.
Well, there's nothing solid about explosions, so it just comes
Oh,
with the
yeah.
territory, I suppose.
People almost never get blown up in that game if you're playing with gentlemen.
So I already own this thing on Steam and PS4. I mean, are you going to keep playing it on Switch at all? Do you think there's a novelty?
Absolutely.
Why? What's appealing?
It's a really good version of the game. Like I said, playing it on your TV, it looks every bit as good as the PS4 version. Plus, I took the bus here this morning and I played it on the bus.
That's fun.
Be
Plus
honest, Leo.
Wi-Fi.
Though.
And
Be honest, Leo.
you get Metroid and Mario cars, right?
I only have the Mario car.
Okay.
That's still
I don't know
cool.
when
but-
that Metroid car's coming.
I bet you're going to keep playing this game because the Nintendo fan base is so much worse at the game than the other competitive playing
interesting.
fields.
How
That's the
dare
thing.
Is that true?
It has cross-platform play. So I'm still going up against a lot of PC and
Oh,
Xbox
nice.
people.
That's
the PC
amazing.
people
We're
got to be
kicking
like,
my
this is
ass.
amazing.
Yeah.
We love the Switch version.
Everyone in a dumb Mario
Yeah.
Kart, just easy money. Here we go.
I found the Nintendo competitive playing field was infinitely shallower with Doom. I mean,
Oh,
I got the Marksman Award for most accurate using a grenade launcher. I mean, come on, people.
That's amazing. But the holy grail here,
Yeah.
the big money, as they say, Skyrim.
It's a really good port.
And that's out this week, out on Friday?
That's out on Friday. Yes, tomorrow.
Holy cow. Okay, yeah. So good port overall.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I am one of those people who have played Skyrim across several platforms that have always had trouble getting into it.
Yeah.
Like my first time with it, I played it when it came out on Xbox 360 and hit like a major bug. Like this was release week, and it just like ruined all my progress. So, like I'm out. Gave it another shot like 3 years later and just couldn't get into it. I just didn't want to sit around and like have to sit in front of my television for 10, 20 more hours playing through the same bit over and over again.
But if you can sit on the bus and play through
Yeah.
that same bit over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the first time I feel like I've actually really, really gotten into it, and we'll finish it, like the main quest stuff, and keep exploring like all the expansions and stuff. And part of that is portability, but it's also like a pretty clean version. The frames per second are always above 30. It's pretty solid.
So we have a video on the site kind of comparing it to other systems. What did you learn? And Leo in the booth, you can even chime in. Maybe you've looked at it more. I mean, is it on par with like the 360 PS3 versions?
I mean, it's been a couple of years since. I mean, it's been a lot of years since I played those versions, but I thought this version looked better than those. There's a slight motion blur that Bert and Joe noticed when I was playing that I didn't notice when you turned.
Okay.
But I didn't pick up on that. But honestly, like the draw distance is super impressive as long as you don't look too closely at the textures. And again, this is like a game from 2011, and even then, those textures were kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
It looks great. Like the environments look great. The combat, the same. I like Skyrim and Oblivion's combat. I know some people are like it's very wooden. I like the weight behind like when you use a sword and like the body just sort of goes plunking down, or like how you can shout people off mountaintops. That never gets old. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And some of the features that people have criticized it for, like the bad voice acting and stuff, I find that that's part of the game's charm. But I didn't run into like
I forgot you like bad things.
Yeah, I like bad things. I didn't find any like major bugs or anything that sort of plagued like the other versions of the game I played. Like it's just a very clean port that you can take on the go.
That's pretty cool. Sorry,
Yeah,
Leo in the
it
booth,
is.
real quick. I mean, does it compare to the old ones? Was it like side by side?
I will say it is a lot closer to the remasters than the 360 PS3 version.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
It's got all the new like nature effects, trees swaying, and new water effects. It looks a lot sharper than the
Okay.
old gen did.
And
How
it looks just as good on because I've played it on different television sets of various sizes, as well as the handheld mode, and it looks good across all of those.
how's the load time?
Load time is like a minute for the initial load from main menu to open world, and then it just depends on where you're transitioning from, but it was never more than like 5 to 10 seconds.
Oh, that's great.
Like no, it's pretty quick.
I'm kind of excited to play this because
That sounds great.
I'm kind of in the same boat, JV, where like I played it on PS3 of all godforsaken platforms.
Yeah,
with
that's
Why
the
did you
worst
do that?
one.
Because I didn't have a 360
Yeah,
when
no.
it came out.
Huh.
Yeah, and so I started playing it on PS3 and made it like 15 hours in, and then it was just a broken, buggy mess,
Yep.
and never went back to it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that and Fallout New Vegas are essentially broken on PS3. It's like some weird problem where like your saves degrade as the game goes on, and there's eventually just reach a point where it just breaks.
It's just
And they never
dragging
fixed
all
it.
of this garbage with you.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what's it like to actually play the game? It is a strange point of comparison, but being such a big Breath of the Wild fan,
hmm
is it strange to go back to Skyrim? Do you find yourself making that obvious comparison playing on the Switch?
I did it at first, but initially that goes away because their worlds are so different. I feel like Breath of the Wild. I think Breath of the Wild has a more interesting open world, but it's also a very different kind of world. You don't have.
Burt's is shocked.
Oh, but you don't have like in Breath of the Wild. I feel like the quests aren't as long. Like they're more like get it done pretty quickly, and it's very sort of enjoyable and snappish
Yeah.
in a way. Whereas like pretty much any quest you find in Oblivion or in Skyrim, sorry, it's a multi-step journey.
Yeah.
And they're usually fun. They're usually really interesting. I really like. I forgot how much I like the Dark Brotherhood stuff. This if you haven't played it, that's basically the assassin guild in the series, and the one in this game starts with you killing an evil orphanage owner for just a mean-spirited child. Like it's not like the child isn't like super nice or sympathetic or anything. He's just like, yeah, I want her to die. And like that's how you kick off this journey. You're like, all right, cool. So it's wacky. It's more mature. It's grittier. Everything feels a little bit more realistic. Personally, I think Breath of the Wild's a better game. But I like the setting of Skyrim more, just because I'm more interested in sort of like snowy wasteland kind of stuff.
And
So,
now you can have the Master Sword anyway.
yeah, which
Yeah,
looks
how
bad.
is that thing?
And
It looks real bad.
How strong is it?
It's fine.
Does it break?
Yeah, does it break?
No, it doesn't break.
Oh,
That would have been
man.
perfect.
That would have been
If
amazing.
Just
you
so you
get
walk
the
around with
Master
a
Sword
jacket.
and it just breaks after like 3 combats.
But
Buy a new amiibo.
But but all that equipment actually looks really bad. Like it looks like like Bethesda just went online to like one of the Elder Scroll community mod sites and just like straight up stole that stuff and was like, it's our game.
It'd be hard in that art style to make any of that
absolutely.
crap look good. I mean, you can't do it.
Yeah. But let's see. That's the one thing I think if anyone's sort of nervous about making this purchase of like having Skyrim on the go, like there are no mods, even though the PS4 and Xbox One have sort of a bare bones system for mods that's not available on the Switch. Honestly, I didn't mind it that much. I know that's a huge part of that game for a big part of the community, but there's just so much content because again, the Switch version of Skyrim has every expansion pack and all the updates packaged in with it.
Yeah.
So it's like hundreds of hours of content.
Yeah.
Just for main storyline stuff, if you do like the main storyline stuff across all of that stuff, that's not even like, oh, I'm searching out everything to do. I'm just doing like the main story beats of everything that's available.
Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying it. I think I'll play it, quite a bit and keep it on my Switch for a while.
Reiner, any chance you're going back to it?
No, I first beat it on Super Nintendo, and I'm probably not going back. I played it, on every system after that.
Yeah. Can't wait for the VR version.
No, I mean it's just too long of a game.
Oh, it's so
I just want to check it out, see how it runs on there. But then I'm out.
Yeah, for sure.
It runs surprisingly well. Yeah, we gave it a 9, I think. Yeah, a 9.
There we
ultimately.
go. I'll be damned.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, Harmonix ported their Apple TV game to Switch.
What?
Yeah, it's called Super Beat Sports. It's like Harmonix making a Wii Sports meets Rhythm Heaven, which sounds fantastic, and it's super simple. It's like a little $15 thing.
Does it sound fantastic?
That doesn't sound good, man.
What? Wii Sports and Rhythm Heaven? Have you guys played Rhythm Heaven? They're so much fun.
I've played Wii Sports.
Okay, I understand there's haters in here. But it's just super simple stuff. It's in the vein of like a 1-2 switch, but there's only like a handful of different modes and mini games you can actually play in there. But there's some decent little competitive stuff if you want like a musical version of air hockey that's surprisingly well produced, and it's cool to see Harmonix on the Switch, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's about it for that. You guys want to clap on out of here? Hey, welcome, gentlemen.
Hey,
Lovely to have you. We have Cyril Vasquez, we have Jeff
Hi.
Cork, and we have Matt Miller.
we're here.
We're here to talk about even more games. It just never ends, everybody.
There's a lot of games.
Miller, let's dive back into that EA wonderful swamp this week.
'Kay.
Let's talk about Need for Speed Payback.
Yeah, it's not great.
You came into the office after playing it for a while, and you said, this dialogue is unbelievable. And when someone is focusing just on the dialogue in a racing game, it's not usually a good sign.
Well, there's a lot of things to focus on that aren't good in that game, but the thing that really sucks your soul out, I think, is the dialogue. I mean, the dialogue it's not like, oh, that's so funny. It's so bad, it's funny. It's just bad. It's just not good.
Can you give an example? What flavor of bad are we talking
Well,
about?
there's this whole like character arc where you meet a drifting anarchist hacker that's how he self-describes himself, a
Badass.
drifting anarchist hacker.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff about like crushing it, bra, there's a lot of bras.
No tongue in cheek. This tongue is
No.
firmly in the middle of the mouth.
Yeah, that it feels weird. It just feels weird. Like there's a lot of there's one point in about first third of the story where the main character describes his motivations and the really innermost desires of his heart when he communicates that he's doing it for the streets. And like it's not played for laughs. It's just like I'm doing this for the streets, guys.
What about
And
the
someone's
got to.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it, and it's going to be me. I'm going to be the one who saves our perfectly innocent illegal street racers from not being able to.
The streets don't do it for themselves.
They don't.
So you're against the game on a moral basis.
No, it's like I think if that was all that it was, like if the dialogue was not great, but it still had some great action moments and had really good racing, then I think I'd get behind it. But the big problem with the game is its progression loop. Which I don't want to get too much into the conspiracy theories here,
sounds familiar,
but it
okay.
feels a lot like it's kind of trying to push you towards doing some microtransaction stuff. You play through the game, and early on, it's pretty reasonable to progress. You've got, I think 5 different car types: drift, drag, runner, racer, off-road. That you're progressing, each one of them are independent from one another. You can't by progressing, the runner class doesn't progress your off-road class. And each of them have their own event types. And early on, it's pretty reasonable to just kind of do a race, and then you get new stuff that would improve your car, and then you do the next race. But later on, the gaps and the length of time it takes between events broadens. So it takes a lot longer to get to the next race and get to the appropriate power threshold that you need your car to be at. So you can go grind through events that are fairly innocuous and not especially fun, or you can go and you can spend money and you can get these parts that then let you literally pull a slot machine. There's an in-game slot machine mechanic because it's set in like Las Vegas, not really Las Vegas, Fortune Valley.
Okay.
And so everything is built around like gambling. There's all these allusions to like gambling and stuff like that. And
it makes
so
it
like
difficult to deny with a straight face that that's not what this is. Right?
yeah,
Right,
it does not do them any favors because everything about the progression system, even when you do spend money, is non-determinative, which is to say that it's all based on kind of random RNG chance, right? There's some parts, like there are these speed cards that improve your car, and there's a selection of them that you can determinatively purchase with money that you can also get from the microtransaction stuff. And that money those parts improve your car, and so in a way you're selecting stuff there. But the parts that are available for purchase change every few minutes, like what can be purchased at the tune-up shop. And then the other way that you can have some more choice about what speed cards you get is by pulling this lever and like watching the slots spin.
Do you guys just feel like we're at the point where we need to just network style, just open a window and at the very least just scream out of it? Some sort of primal scream therapy.
I if you want to get a picture of the dismay that has been articulated in the Game Informer offices in the last couple of weeks, I think that's a pretty good image. It feels like the hobby that all of us have invested so much time, and in our cases, our professions in right now, has a real deep sickness to it, connected to the way that we're being expected to engage with the games that we love the most. I really like Need for Speed, for instance. I really like arcade racing.
Oh, the series.
I've played a lot of these games over the years.
Yeah.
I think that there are other games that have come out recently, like Star Wars, that I love that franchise, right? I'd love to enjoy it and have a good time. But here in this office, the conversation is, I suspect, like a lot of conversations among friends who like games in recent days, where it feels like every one of these games has flipped its priority from let's have a fun time to like this constant pressure of, bringing it back to the money. And that's hard to take.
Especially because like it seemed like at E3, I don't know, I thought people were positive on that trailer, saying like, oh, it has like some Burnout style slow motion. Cork, you played it where?
Played it at Gamescom, and the level 4-2 that I played, it was a fun racing game because I didn't get to see all that insidious microtransaction action.
Yeah. And so like the core gameplay, are there moments of like, oh, this would be fun if this progression just wasn't so F?
I wouldn't say that it's the greatest feeling racing game I've ever played. It's got some problems there as well. But especially in the latter game, when you get to the cooler cars, the control feels pretty good. It's relatively tight. And has a good sense of speed about it, again, in the latter game. But by that point, you're so frustrated with the other stuff that you've kind of lost any real sense of engagement. There's also a lot of technical problems, things like pop-in the distance and long load times. And probably most damning is the problem of, like, when you have a cinematic sequence or a crash, like you go off the road and you go off a cliff or something like that. Normally, a game like that will load you back in real quick and you get back into the action. When they reload you back in here, you don't get your UI back for a crucial 3 to 5 seconds sometimes. And so all of a sudden you're driving and you don't have any markers to tell you which way to turn or the information that a UI would normally give you in a game like this. So that can be really disastrous. That same thing happens, by the way, in multiplayer, where you can start a multiplayer match. And I would say almost every multiplayer match I played, there were multiple cars that I couldn't see at the start line. So they were there, but they were invisible. And so right at the beginning of the match, it's just like a bumper car scrum where everybody's running into each other. And then the cars load in, the visuals for the cars load in, and you can see the one guy who got knocked off the road because he
It's good that their physics get there first, though, right? It's
yes,
very helpful.
The physics are there.
What did you end up giving this game?
I gave it a 6. I think that it's got a really pretty open world. Its emulation of Las Vegas and the deserts of Nevada and southern Utah, that kind of thing, is quite cool.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of activities. There's lots of races to go on, and collectibles to chase and stuff like that. But there's some stuff that just didn't didn't come together for this game.
And they called it Payback. God damn it. Hey, Jeff Cork.
Hi.
Surely there's no microtransactions in Lego Marvel Superheroes 2.
I think you can buy a season pass.
Okay.
Hey, we like those.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're now to the point where it's like, I guess you know what? If you're willing to at least have a set price that I can pay extra for,
Right.
that's fine.
You're
as long
cool.
As yeah.
Jeff Cork, what did you think of Lego Marvel Superheroes 2?
I bet we could probably copy and paste a lot of what Miller said in his last paragraph
It's
about a
set in
pretty
Las
open
Vegas.
world. It's set in Las Vegas. No, a pretty open world with fun activities, but this one is plagued with a lot of technical problems. It's
Really?
It's kind of weird.
we
for
played
a
Lego games,
game,
right?
Yeah.
and there's like a baseline amount of just wonkiness that you kind of have you kind of
Yeah.
expect at a certain point, but it's just like you shrug it off kind of in much the same way as like you play a Bethesda game. You're like, all right, I'm gonna see some stupid crap, but whatever.
kind of rooting
By
for
and
it
large,
because, yeah.
it-
That dragon's
it
flying
functions.
backwards.
Yeah.
That's fine though.
Exactly. I'm not excusing that. I think everything should work all the time, and that'd be fantastic. But I mean, the
Including
reality of the
Serial.
situation is like in Lego games, the platforming is always going to be not great. Driving will make you want to punch your face off.
But you've loved those games in the past.
But I love those games in the past. Like Lego Marvel Superheroes is probably my favorite of the Lego games.
Holy
I
cow,
like
okay.
the Lego games in general. I think they're great. I think they're a lot of fun, silly. They're enjoyable to play. I like play with my kids and everything. And this one, I was really looking forward to it, and it is not good, at least in its current state. The components are there, like I mentioned in the review. Like the pieces are there, but just right now, it is so. They fumbled technically so hard.
And what are we playing on?
I was playing on just a PlayStation 4.
Okay.
So not the Pro
Sure.
or any
Nothing fancy for Jeff
No.
Cork.
No, just a baseline model. People own these,
Yes.
and I come to expect at least a certain amount of technical competence that I had in the previous version of the game.
So what were you encountering? What was going on?
I mean, I break it down in the review, but it's astounding the scope and scale of the issues. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say like every time that I played, the session stopped with me quitting the game and reloading because something happened. Whether it was like the UI, like the character select screen, it's this huge grid. There's like 230 some odd characters to pick from, which is great. What is less great is when that screen stays on there and you can't dismiss it.
no.
So you can't see anything. Or the mini map would stop working. I've had like characters.
Is it kind of like a Deadpool thing though, where he's just kind of like breaking the fourth wall and messing with you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't
okay,
think that's what was
unclear.
happening, because if
Okay.
it was not communicated or it was not fun.
Sounds funny.
Yeah.
Deadpool's messing with your games,
Yeah.
Jeff.
There are times where like my AI companions, if you're playing solo, it would just randomly switch to other characters. I'm like, wait, who are you? Like, just it was astounding the amount of just weirdness that was happening.
Speaking of weird,
Yeah.
it's really strange to me that they've pulled the Marvel vs. Capcom in Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, different from the first one, and they gutted the X-Men and Fantastic Four out of it, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird, Miller? I know there's this overall trend within Marvel to like X-Men, yeah, let's just diminish it because we don't own it, the movie rights to it at least.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is it as simple as that conspiracy?
Meh.
Come
Yeah.
on, you have more opinions on it than
I mean,
that.
I think it's fair to say that Fantastic Four, in particular, at least in the core comics, they just that series doesn't exist right now. X-Men do. X-Men still have a pretty lively presence in the comic universe.
But I mean, they've got like Squirrel Girl and like a Hitman Monkey. So it's not like the fact that the comic doesn't exist is like, well, we can't do this now. I mean, like they take some very deep dives with the roster, which I appreciate. It's super fun to see weird stuff. Like you don't have Mr. Fantastic, but you have Miss Marvel, for instance, and functionally she's very similar.
Oh,
She
really?
can stretch, and
That's
you'd
her
be
thing.
really into her. I know that you're a big Elastigirl fan from way back.
I'm into the character, not the physicality of the character. Jeff Cork. I'm into her spirit.
For what it's
Okay.
worth, the
voice.
comic
Yeah,
is
yeah.
also very good.
Is she voiced by
Holly Hunter?
Yeah.
No,
Well,
Sorry.
much less so.
yeah,
So overall, you wouldn't recommend it.
would not recommend.
Maybe they'll patch it up in
Play
some place.
more of the original.
If they patch it up and everything, great. I would look forward to revisiting it in a functional state. And that's the thing too, is like I could always go back and start a mission over again and do it again, and then the second time it would work. It's just that constant. So I never encountered something that was like, I am completely locked out of completing this objective permanently. But it was just a matter of exiting back to the main menu, reloading it, and then, okay, now this boss triggered its next phase, which it didn't do the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's especially insidious and problematic in a game that's targeted to kids.
Absolutely, because that's what I was thinking about. And I feel like a broken record here, but I said it in my review. I feel like like a kid might not know.
Yeah.
This boss fight isn't
working.
Isn't hard. It's not working. That's what's going on. Like, he should have died a long time ago.
Yeah.
He just has not, for whatever reason, jumped onto the platform and taunted you to get the next phase going. So,
And there's a lot of kids who are going to have that on like their Christmas list.
Yes.
And be really excited to play another Lego games at Christmas time. So I don't know. Let's hope maybe they fix some of that stuff by Christmas time.
What's worse is, like, this is with a day one patch installed.
Yeah.
So this has already been patched once.
Yeah.
I was talking to PR. They said, like, another patch is coming. They're working on it supposedly for maybe in December.
Okay.
Boy, I hope so. Because I like those games, and I want to have a fun, problem-free session with that.
Yeah.
I think there is a lot to like about it.
And what'd you give this one?
Give it a 6.
My God in heaven. Cyril Vasquez, just to break this chain of 6s, let's talk about a preview of a game that you recently saw. It's crazy because Leo in the booth there, video boy, a video adult man, he recently went to Bungie to check out the PC version of Destiny 2. And then you, as Leo was walking out the door, I think you high-fived each other.
Yeah, we high-fived on the way in and out.
Yeah, because then you went into Bungie to check out the first big expansion to Destiny 2, Curse of Osiris. So you played through this campaign?
Yes.
Okay.
We can only really, I mean, they have us kind of tight-lipped on what we can say about the game, but they had a live stream yesterday that sort of offered some of the first big details about the game, and we got to play sort of the first mission, and there should be a video up sort of capturing that first mission, which
new
takes place
gameplay today, right?
Yeah, new gameplay
Very
today.
good,
There is new gameplay, well, technically yesterday, but the area takes place, the expansion takes place on Mercury, which is sort of a new planet.
There've been
It's
multiplayer
been around for a while, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true. They didn't reclassify like they did Pluto, but which Miller might know that in Destiny lore, Mercury is not necessarily like 100% put together in the.
What's this game?
Damn it, Miller playing them again. So the Vex, right, have like completely reworked Mercury.
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay.
So I mean, the Vex are basically a hive mind that sort of transcend time and have like this collective consciousness that is sort of like omnipresent.
They're indestructible, I hear.
So the basic premise is that Osiris, the titular Osiris, has sort of ousted himself in a way. So the first signs of like, oh, Osiris might actually be in a form that we can maybe talk to or interact with. So basically, you find his dead ghost, basically.
So hang on. So Osiris has been established because of the Trials of Osiris, which is if you do really well in multiplayer, you go and it's kind of like a vague,
it's a separate mode
or umbrella of you're kind of working for him on Mercury and it's his little competition.
Osiris wanted to find a fire team that was flawless.
There we go. Thank you. That's the sentence I need.
That was the whole lore backdrop to the Trials of Osiris,
but he wasn't
being a thing that you needed to get this many matches without losing.
Yeah, but he wasn't like sitting in a throne going like, "Good job."
No,
Guardians.
he was always missing.
No, yeah.
Okay.
So the person who officiated it, Brother Vance, was sort of the vendor that gave you a bunch of stuff related to that gear, and he's in this expansion as well. He's sort of
Did he wear sunglasses?
I'm watching Cork slowly get more and more lost as new characters.
It's not lost. It's disgusted. I'm just.
So can you give me a sense of the scope of this expansion? Is this comparable to anything from Destiny 1?
I think it is more involved than I think either House of Wolves or the Dark Below, which were sort of the two basic ones, which felt like just a sort of a series of missions that didn't really feel like they had a plot, but they didn't really feel like.
Well, they were really short, too.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So this one is about similar in length, but it feels a lot more produced. The new environments I think do a lot to make sort of this expansion feel a lot more fresh.
Yeah.
There are different Vex enemy types, not necessarily like new enemy types because that'd be crazy, but the Vex from across different eras of the Vex come in. So there's one that look more circular, or ones that look, they're from different time periods.
Okay.
And there's some interesting mechanics even in the first mission where you have to shoot these cubes and then they iterate on that in later campaign missions. But I think the interesting thing is that like they do a pretty good job with Osiris as a character, of introducing him. Like the first cutscene, which we can't really talk about, but like they do a good job of telling you this guy's pretty cool. Also, he's mysterious.
Sunglasses.
Right.
He just has aviators on.
That's right. He sits down at a table and just puts on glasses and says, "I'm mysterious.
I'm a mysterious person.
I can't tell you anymore.
The future's so bright, and so is this planet. I gotta wear shades.
So it definitely feels more substantial than it feels more well put together than the other expansions. But we played through most of it. We had some experience with multiplayer and some of the other new stuff that they're adding, but we'll have more of that stuff
Rolling out on the side.
Yeah.
When does that actually come out?
That is the 5th.
December 5th.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it, Miller.
Absolutely.
Have you been continuing to play Destiny 2?
I think most engaged Destiny players would be in the same camp as I am in saying that Destiny 2 has probably not had for a lot of people the same arc of play that say vanilla original Destiny did back in 2014. I think at this point in the cycle, I was still playing Destiny many hours every night, doing stuff collecting items and trying to get through different pieces of content. And that hasn't necessarily been the case with Destiny 2. I wrote pretty extensively on my impressions of Season 1 a few weeks back as being a distinct experience from there's one part of Destiny 2 that is playing it for the first 60 to 80 hours that I think is represented as well as I can in my initial review for the game, which is very positive, and it's a really fun game. And then there's the experience over the next several hundred hours as you transition into this kind of cyclical game and play it more like a lot of people play MMOs, right? Where you go in every night, you get together with your friends, you have things you're pursuing. And that's where the game has really struggled right now. And as such, I think a lot of us haven't been playing it as much as we might otherwise be playing.
But you're still at hundreds of hours, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that there's a temptation by people who are really hardcore about this game or other games like this to get really down on it because after hundreds of hours, it's not offering what you want it to, and yet you had a great time for several hundred hours. So, I still am very positive about Destiny 2. Do I think it has a lot of things that need to get resolved in order to make it be at its greatest potential? Absolutely. And I hope that Curse of Osiris begins to do some of that stuff. I have a sense that that's going to be a gradual process and that Curse of Osiris might not resolve all those issues because, let's be honest, when most players were beginning to get to that point where they were recognizing the cracks in the wall, so to speak, at that point, Curse of Osiris had to be basically done.
Right. That's exactly what they said. Is that people they had a Q&A, and people were asking there's a lot of feedback for you guys to sift through. And their reply was, this was basically almost done before we heard it. There's in some places we did take some of that feedback. But this is mostly going to be sort of the first phase of us trying to improve the game.
This is the content dump, but yet to come is probably more of a structural reworking like Taken King was for Destiny 1.
Well, that remains to be seen, right? Whether they will structurally rework things or they feel like it's where it needs to be and they can make more minor changes and have it be good. That is not clear yet, right?
Yeah.
But to take it back to just the core of what we're talking about here, Curse of Osiris gets a lot of credit from me for being just a few months after launch. For PC players, they're going to be able to roll right into it.
That's pretty cool,
right?
Yeah.
And the live team at Bungie, I think, has done a really excellent job. One thing that I give that team tremendous credit for is the amount of events and other activities that they've been continuing to give us throughout these first few months. Dropping new pieces of content like trials, like the raid, like the faction rallies, that sort of stuff on a regular basis. Now, not all of those content pieces have been up to snuff, but I do appreciate that there is a clear effort to get people content to engage with on a regular basis. And as they continue to hone that stuff, it will get better, I hope. And Curse of Osiris being just a few months after launch bodes well. It bodes well for the future of the game and that it will continue to evolve.
Hell yeah. Well, hey guys, thanks for covering those games. I love you all, but I need you to get out of here so we can get a new batch of folks in for emails. So expect a whole new crew coming up for emails coming up now. And welcome back to the Inform Show. We have some great emails that people sent in from the community. And
Great
to help
emails.
answer them, we have Brian Shea now.
Hey.
We have Kyle Hilliard now.
Hey, I gave Pokemon Ultra Sun Ultra Moon 8.5.
Cool. And we have Cyril Vasquez.
All new.
Turns out you stuck around after all, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry for saying that you were kicked out of here. Seriously, though, number one question is from me right now out of my mouth. Kyle, how is Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon?
It's good. If you didn't play Sun and Moon and you want a Pokemon game, you should play it. But if you played Sun and Moon, there's no reason to play it.
I mean, does it do any more than the third iteration usually does for the Pokemon series? Seems like in the
A little
build-up.
bit. I mean, a little bit. There's like some story tweaks and stuff like that. Like the pacing is a little. It feels like a director's cut of the game, kind of like scenes that were cut from the original game are included here, and that like covers like characters and stuff like that.
Does it explain what the hell is going on with that other dimension and the weird mom storyline? It doesn't. Well, okay, so not necessarily a new storyline altogether.
No, just kind of tweaked. You know, like there's new characters in it. In a weird
Well,
way,
they
so.
had like Team Rocket, right? Do they have like leaders of all the other rival teams in this game?
Yeah, they're like late in the game. You can kind of encounter them. But I mean, the big things are like the Photo Club mode and like Mantis Racing, which is kind of fun. But it really, Mantine, right? Thank you. But really, like if you played Sun and Moon and like, then you have pretty much had this experience where you don't need to go back to it.
I'm so happy. I think there was like when we did that Ask Me Anything on Reddit. You guys might be familiar
Reddit.com?
from such novelties as Battlefront 2's AMA recently. But we did one about our Pokemon trip, and there were some people who were like, "Why didn't you ask more about Ultra Sun and Moon?" And I'm so glad because the answer to that is what I'm going to say now, which is like, look, one of them is going to be completely disregarded once that comes out, and like I'd like to have a longer view of what's going to be interesting for talking about the overall Pokemon series. So I'm so glad that we didn't just try and wring Ultra Sun and Moon questions from those guys on an entire trip, that we had
They
a
gave us
wider
Photo Club.
perspective.
We were happy.
They
with
gave us the Photo Club. Hang on, guys. What's that noise? You guys hear that sweet music coming up?
I do.
I think it's time for a surprise interview with the announcer from NBA Jam. Tim Kitzrow, welcome to the Game Informer Show, sir.
Nice to be on board from downtown Chicago. Boom shakalaka.
I love that you just get out of the gate with exactly what everybody wants to hear. I mean, it's been how many years of you just screaming boom shakalaka over and over and over again?
Yeah, it's actually coming up. This is the 25th anniversary, so this is a big year. A lot of excitement from NBA Jam fans. There's been a lot of action on Twitter. There's a book coming out, NBA Jam the book. There's a website devoted to the NBA Jam fans, and there's an Insert Coin doc. It's a great documentary being done about kind of the rise and fall of Midway games. You know, the Mortal Kombat, Blitz, Jam, Smash TV, all the great games, and where all the great designers really came from. This was the melting pot. This was like the Microsoft garage of video games back in the day.
Yeah. So, Tim, what is your actual role with NBA Jam? How did you get brought on board? Can you just describe the environment where you recorded the VO for NBA Jam?
Yeah, there's a big factory in California here in Chicago that was making all the coin-op games for years and years, the early pinball games. And I had a friend who was John Hay, responsible for putting the music in the game, the producer. And back in those days, he wrote the script. You'd put the music in, you'd actually record, you'd do everything. And now at EA Sports, you've got at least 7-8 guys doing that gig. So it was this big factory. You walk in, there'd be hundreds of pinball games being put together, all the bells and lights going off. Then you walk through this dirty little cafeteria with a couple pinball games, video games, and back into this dark little nasty corridor. And there was basically a meat refrigerator recording booth locker. You know, it's like you get in it was like 5 feet wide, 4 feet wide. And I was sitting in that old-fashioned recording booth with John Hay outside the window. It looked like I was in the gas chamber. And I had my Scottie Pippen or Michael Jordan poster on the wall for a little added inspiration. And, just shout and yell like a madman.
So maybe it's just, I didn't play enough games in that era. But I'm really thinking, like, in terms of, like, personality coming through VO, it was not that common in the 16-bit era. So were there discussions of like, man, we really want to ham it up with respect to your acting talents. We were willing to ham it up for the VO here to really stand out in this field.
Yeah, we knew that this was the comic book come to life, the superhero version of the NBA, and it was also going to be the street crack, the coins going in for every quarter. We had to have this hype, and I was the carnival barker to bring those people around the arcade. And if you've ever been in Dave & Buster's or any arcade lately, when they have the sound down, and I remember in the early days, some of the bars and arcades didn't realize, because as you said, there wasn't a lot of speech in games and it was just a lot of noise. And if you couldn't hear the game, it had a totally different presence. When you start to hear the game mode, playing, and hearing boom shakalaka, he's on fire, it drew you in, And sometimes I would go to arcades. I'd say, hey man, turn that up a little bit. He goes, why? I go, because I'm the dude.
I'm the dude. All right. So those lines in particular, everything was written out. Was there any improvising back in the day?
Yeah, there was always something, and with the first NBA Jam, though, if you listen to it, it's stock lines from that era. We didn't throw in a whole lot. NFL Blitz is where we really started to improvise a lot more. There was a lot more writing because the technology allowed us to put more in the game. Each year it was just exponentially, the technology was allowing us to do more and more and more. I have to ask John Hay, but that original script was really small and condensed, except for the player names and the team names. I said I could probably, while being on hold for the DMV or something, I could do all the lines. Puts up a brick, can't buy a bucket, no good, get that shit out of here, from downtown, he's on fire, no good, at the buzzer, the nail in the coffin, and, a couple others. So, and he plays his greatest hits.
So what's the weirdest place NBA Jam has come up for you? Like, just journeying with this thing for 25 years, how frequently does it come up? And what's the strangest place that's ever come up in your life?
Well, hearing it in referencing commercials, the Boom Shakalaka had taken on a life of its own. And recently, Jay-Z's daughter had a song where she rapped on her dad's song and did a big Boom Shakalaka chorus, and it was all over the internet. And I got called by TMZ. I'm asleep, 9 in the morning, like, well, we just read this article in Sports Illustrated about NBA Jam, and you're the guy who originated Boom Shakalaka. So we want to see, what do you think about Blue Ivy's Boom Shakalaka? Like, I don't know. Like, why do you think she said it? Because it's fun to say. Boom Shakalaka. How is that fun to say?
What does it mean?
To get woken up being told that Jay-Z's daughter, who's 5, is singing Boom Shakalaka. What do I think? I think I want to get back to bed.
Is this, when you meditate, is that your key word, Boom Shakalaka? Do you ever just think about what the hell does it mean? What is the etymology of Boom Shakalaka?
Well, I've never found the exact etymology, but the story is that Sly and the Family Stone and I Want to Take You Higher, they were singing Boo Shakalaka in that chorus. And they use that in Stripes, too. Bill Murray, like, he's got them all marching, like, Boo Shakalaka, Boo Shakalaka. So the dude down the hall from John Hay, and I'm sorry I forget his name right now, but it's in the Sports Illustrated article. He goes, hey, tell Tim to say Boom Shakalaka. John goes, say Boom Shakalaka. Me, Boom Shakalaka. That was it, bro. That was
so
it.
Simple.
But it's great because it's the perfect description. The ball hit, boom, and the rim rattles, shakalaka.
It's an onomatopoeia. Accidental.
Onomatopoeia.
Yes, exactly.
Word out of my mouth.
So you talk about, walking through all these pinball games to get to the recording booth. You also did the voice, correct me if I'm wrong, for Rod Serling in the Twilight Zone pinball game?
This is a simple story about a man on a video game host channel. He's about to embark upon a dream. I did that. I just recently did it for Zynga games too, but
really?
Case in point, one Tim Kitzrow living in a world of fantasy in an arcade. Boom shakalaka going off inside his head. He can't escape it. His only choice is the Twilight Zone.
That's amazing. Did you, I don't know, do you see that ad in the Yellow Pages? Like, where the hell do you come across the opportunity to impersonate Rod Serling? Had you been working your way up to that point of doing the pinball?
I kind of became the one of the house guys at Midway Games in Williams, pinball. I was doing a little weekend rock and roll warrior band. I played drums, and so that one guy, John and Chris Granner, who did a lot of the great games, they said, hey, come on in, can you do Mr. Howell? We're doing a Gilligan's Isle, and I went, well, maybe we could bribe Conan Gilligan. Ooh, lovely. And we're off to the races, and I did Popeye next, and then they said, can you do Rod Serling? And so just work at it a little bit. I've, got an acting background, pretty good ear. So just fun playing. I was getting paid to play. That was all.
Yeah, it must have been tough to down so many cigarettes, though, while recording those Rod Serling lines. That's really a tough gig, yeah. So these days, you're working on Mutant Football League. How did this come about?
Well, this is real exciting because you think of my career, Jam, Blitz, Slugfest, NHL hits, Wayne Gretzky hockey, all these big, fast, hard-hitting titles. And then I was kind of left in the dust because the sim games, all the sports sim games, that Madden took over, and these detailed 3-hour laborious, games of I had, first of all, honestly, no interest in that kind of if I want that much, I'll go to the game, I'll play the game, but I couldn't sit in front of a computer. The adrenaline rush, as I said, the crack of the arcade game was kind of gone. And Michael Mendheim, who's the original designer for Mutant League Football back in the day, very successful game, had a Saturday morning TV show, cartoon characters, trading cards. He's in Chicago. He approached me. He's doing, this homage to one of the great arcade titles. And the great thing is NFL Blitz, which took the heart out of it with the last version with EA Sports, because the NFL wanted to get rid of all the hard hits. They wanted to get rid of all that stuff that people love to do, jump on the player after he is down. So it kind of softened it up.
Yeah.
And I did the remake in 2012. Still a great game, but here we are, no license, no NFL person breathing down our neck saying what we can and can't do. And this game is the most crazy, insane, fun, over-the-top ride you will ever go on, and it will bring you back to that arcade time where there's that energy and there's humor, and it has 4-player that's the way these games were meant to be played. Yeah. When you were back in the day, you went to the arcade and you were yelling and screaming, high-five and putting your quarters on. To have a game like that again, so basically you're playing great football. It's like NFL Blitz meets, I said, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a bloody mess and fun football rush, but you get to play with other people, and you have. And here he is, Bomb Shady in the shotgun formation. He actually has a shotgun. He just blew that guy's head off. Love to see that, Bricks. Yeah, I do too. So it's crazy. It's kind of like the Three Stooges meets me during NFL Blitz. We got these great, routines. The writing for these games that we couldn't do back in the day to add more and more content. And if you remember Slugfest, the humor that I was able to do, entire dialogues and lots of improv, and this has tons of that in it. So, it's an amazing game. It's out on PC right now on Steam, and then early January we're going to line it up for the Super Bowl. So we're going to have it out January 18th, Xbox and PS4.
That's perfect. Are you watching a lot of Twitch streams, people playing it on Steam then, just to hear reactions?
Right now it's on Xbox Preview, Xbox Live Preview, so you can check it out there. And we had some really fun stuff. We did some more online stuff, Michael and I, in real time, players playing and talking to them, and kids are going nuts. And to see people, the reaction of people, they can't believe you're pulling out a chainsaw and running down the field and cutting people in half. And it's really fun to play on the actual NFL, like Bomb Shady. All the names are just so clever. It's like, and he just took a sack to the lunch pail, Bricks. Oh, that gives a new meaning to the word sack. Well, everybody knows that Bomb Shady like to play with soft balls. He'll be playing with deflated balls the rest of his career. Be careful what you wish for, Bomb. You can say that again. So, a lot of fun, man. Really. And to have 25 years of Jam coming up, coinciding with the release of my first brand new title in a way, and arcade style, which is what my bread and butter is. There's not a lot out there for me, as I said, in that sim world. Right. Although I could impersonate those play-by-play guys, real serious guys, but that's not my gig.
It sucks. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Totally. Has anybody ever reached out to you about doing a Dota voice pack?
I have, and actually people have been talking to me about that online. So there's a lot of stuff I think that with this game I'm getting a lot of interviews, a lot of people talking, and realizing after 25 years how many fans there are out there. And I just started to get more active on Twitter lately. It's kind of missed that boat a few years ago. So connected with a lot of people. I went out to the NBA Summer League this year, met a lot of former NBA players, young players, the starters. They're big fans. This all kind of started with Sports Illustrated doing a 8-page expose this past summer on NBA Jam. It was just fantastic. So they interviewed people at the NBA, former players. I mean, Shaquille was the biggest fan in the world. He used to have arcades delivered to his hotel room often when he was on the road. He said they'd stay up all night and make a ton of money, just gambling, playing NBA Jam. So it's fun to meet with like Vlade Divac, Vince Carter at the Summer League and find out that they're, big fans. And of course they were in various versions. It's funny how that generation's getting older and now they are immortalized in NBA Jam. And I'm hoping to do some sort of a celebration in Vegas Summer League next year for the 25th anniversary. Get former players, get competition, have private, collectors bring in their NBA Jam cabinets, have some music and a lot of merchandise. And I'm working on a sneaker to be unveiled for the 25th anniversary too.
Jesus Christ, Tim, you're a busy guy.
Try to keep busy, but this thing has been a ride that you can have a hit if you're a musician like Can't Get No Satisfaction. The Stones. It was played on the jukebox. The kids put their quarters in it. Who would think? And they never thought that 25 years later they'd still be singing Satisfaction. Play Satisfaction. It's the same way for Boom Shakalaka. The kids from that generation, all their quarters went to the jukebox, and that was the jukebox called NBA Jam. And I'm the greatest hit, Boom Shakalaka.
That's beautiful, man. Well, again, Mutant Football League coming out in January on consoles, out on Steam right now. Tim Kitzrow, thank you so much for your time, man. Really appreciate it.
It's great to spend time with you. Take care.
Absolutely.
Already, it's kind of an interesting new angle to bring it in out of nowhere, but also starting the email segment, then going into Pokemon, then doing the surprise interview. It's very bold.
Hey, Tim Kitzrow, everybody. What a surprise.
Tim.
Always a pleasure.
There was a mod for Dota 2 that was the NBA Jam announcer, and that was the one that I ended up using because it's the best one.
Hang on a second. Are you serious? During the interview that people just listened to, Surreal, I said, you know what you should do, Tim Kitzrow? You should do announcer voice for Dota. He already did it?
No, someone modded it into the game, modded it.
Like a fan mod of just doing an impersonation?
Yeah, it was a fan mod.
I think Tim would be very down for that.
Like when you get a double kill, he would say he's heating up. And then when you get a triple kill, you say he's on fire.
It's weird that they had...
Did they pull the audio clips from the original game?
Yes, that's what he said. Okay. It's weird they had the audio clip in the original game of Skeleton King! What's the dumbest hero name in Dota to say in the NBA
The dumbest hero name...
Skeleton King.
Outworld Devourer.
Outworld Devourer. I don't know.
Devourer.
Faceless
That would
Void.
be hard.
You know what? Let's get Tim back on the line. I think he'd be into that.
Faceless Void.
That's a good idea.
Hey, emails, everybody. People sent in to podcast@gameofinformer.com. They sent in all manner of stuff.
Did you want to go off on any other tangents real quick?
No, we're getting down to business. That's what this podcast is all about, damn it. So they sent in feedback, thoughts, words of wisdom, news stories, everything under the sun. Anything that'll make the show better in any way. You can send in a pre-recorded interview with Tim, the NBA Jam announcer. Send it into podcast@gameformer.com. We're going to read through all these, choose our absolute favorite email, and then ship that person out something big and something real and something spectacular.
It's really amazing what they got.
Thank you. Hang on, is that sarcastic?
No, it's genuine.
You dirty dog.
You gave me a lot of crap for being sarcastic before this started, and damn it, I'm trying not to be.
Here we go. First email. Speaking of a lot of crap, Travis from Hillsborough, North Carolina says, hey, in a recent episode, you and the crew discussed Sony's VR presentation in Paris with open derision. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes,
derision. One of the guys, that was Jeff, said you might be coming across as jackasses. Well, yes, but worse than that, you're coming across as belittling jackasses. It's not enough to say VR just isn't our jam. You go out of your way to insert a verbal jab or two or three, not on the merits or flaws of a specific game, but aimed at the entirety of the medium. I enjoy VR. It's not a gimmick for some of your listeners. You probably hate it when non-gamers casually dismiss the hobby you love. Give VR gamers similar consideration. I appreciate this email. It's tough not just to send into snarky stuff when no one at the table is into VR gaming experiences, but I understand there's that crowd out there that's into it. So
sorry,
but
I am sorry, Travis.
We are very anti-Microsoft, as the commenters would have you believe, but
or anti-Sony or anti-Nintendo. It's always confusing.
It depends on the hour.
Bad.
I think so. Here's the conundrum, and here, like, I love what we did with the podcast back when we talked about NAC 2, where it was like, hey, we're talking about NAC 2. Let's be serious about it. Let's not just make 1,000 corny jokes about Nack's kind of a dumb-looking character. Like, yeah, everybody knows Nack's a dumb-looking character, right? Mm. Like, let's talk about the game. I like when we can make that fenced-off area, but then there's situations with Sonic Forces and Shay last week, right? Where it's like, when do you set up those fences? Do we do it for every game? Because I feel like it'd be boring if, like, as dopey as the game is, or we might think it is, we have to talk about it like, okay, just talking about gameplay, talk about it on its own merits. Shay, when do we set up those guardrails of, hey, don't be a dick?
I think, boy, I mean, you got to make it entertaining. That's the thing. Is like you can't just have like a dry conversation. Hey, no, but you have like there.
Let's put up those fences right now.
Okay, yeah, we'll
first answer.
Sure, please.
I thought we were putting the fences up.
Anyways, moving on. The Real Nick in Atlanta says, after the latest disaster EA has created for themselves regarding Star Wars, who should be in charge of the Star Wars video game franchise? Who should run it, if not EA?
I was actually thinking about this because
So was I.
That was I think I was talking to Reiner about it. Is like if they keep fumbling with Star Wars, like at what point is Disney going to be like, this contract's coming up. Let's maybe try somebody else.
Let's let our son date another lady.
Yeah.
Or they just cut ties with Gazillion over Marvel Heroes.
I mean, do they feel that way, or is the money just going to make it always be EA? I don't know.
I mean, this game is going to do gangbusters sales wise.
Well, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of backlash going on around there, but there also was around the first game and it sold gangbusters. But like, what publisher could do it better?
Yeah.
Is there anybody we trust outside of like CD Projekt Red?
Trust no one.
Like,
it's a weird one. I was thinking like Warner Brothers has taken all of their like brands and turned all the video game versions of it into these amazing things like Batman and Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. Those are high quality games based on franchises.
But also, I don't know if you caught any of the Shadow of War microtransaction debate. I don't think they can be trusted to keep it a pure experience.
Yes, that's true. I mean, it seems like I feel like Shadow of War's microtransaction feedback might have been a little overblown. I'm kind of looking at Shay because you played more of it than I
have tweeted that it's probably like out of all the games that have garnered controversy over the past few months for microtransactions, it was among the least intrusive and disruptive.
But I would still almost it's so impossible. Well, it's not totally impossible, but like Warner Brothers almost seems like a good fit. I mean, didn't they publish the Cars game, right?
I think they did, yeah.
So like they at least have been in a meeting with Disney at some point. I feel like maybe they could make a good Star Wars game that doesn't cost me $1 million to get Darth Vader.
Well, speaking of meeting with Disney, Josh Rogers and also Jermaine Jones wrote in with the same topic. I'm reading Jermaine Jones's email. No offense, Josh Rogers. Thank you for writing in. Jermaine Jones says, my question is about the new animated Mario movie that is going to be done by the people who did Despicable Me and the Minions. I think this movie is done correctly with Mario's history, Mario Kart, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, etc., that the affection people have for Mario and Nintendo will come through. This movie could be great. Do you guys agree? What would each of you like to see in it? What would the movie be about? That Mario movie with Dennis Hopper doesn't exist to me. Thank you.
Here's my thing is that I think the most notable thing, that movie could be very good. The most notable thing that's going to come out of it is whether or not Mario has speaking dialogue.
Yep.
Extensively.
That's what I was thinking.
What it should be about is just Mario finding his voice. They should just tease that out for as long as possible.
It's him trying to find like his voice box? Like that's the MacGuffin?
Like someone steals Mario's voice.
Please do not put Suriel in charge of this movie.
No, absolutely not.
Hang on.
I like this idea.
Which level? Like, is it kind of like a Planet of the Apes where like humans get dumbed down and people can only speak on the level of Charles Martinet Mario?
No.
And he's trying to find like his eloquence?
I'm saying like a villainous ghost or something steals Mario's voice away. And you just sort of assume that Mario's always talks, so it's a big part of his character. So at some point, all of his friends who are all have speaking roles. No one cares if Luigi can talk.
Yeah.
They all help him find his voice again.
Okay. Well, Suriel, do you want to just act out this film that you've concocted right now? I think it'd go a little something like this. Kyle, do you want to say the opening credits, please?
Okay. Mario, I don't understand why you're not talking to me. We talk so often, and we're so close, but now you're not saying anything to me, and it's frustrating, and I'm going to walk away and end our friendship even without giving you a chance to
Hey, get out of the way! Opening credit / Luigi character. I'm an evil ghost, and I have his voice. I'm the reason it's gone.
Who are you?
You can call me King Boo.
Oh, no.
Wait.
You don't have a
the
voice.
is already stolen.
Wait, so the voice is already stolen? I thought you were here to steal my voice.
No, I had already stolen it in that timeline.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Flashback.
Cut. Okay, let's kick it off from the top again.
Okay.
Shay, you're the opening narration, the opening title crawl, and then
Wait, so it's a title crawl.
Yeah, and then Kyle, you're going to be Luigi.
Okay,
and go. Action scene.
Mushroom Kingdom, 1985. A young plumber named Mario. All right, fine.
No, go on.
Mario, it's me, your brother. We gotta take care of this, man. We gotta go do it.
Mario waves his arms frantically.
What? Talk to me, Mario.
I thought he'd already lost his voice.
Talk to me. What's going on? What happened to your voice?
He continues flailing his arms, unable to speak.
Why are the minions here? I don't understand this overlap.
Hey, everybody, I'm King Boo. I took his voice.
You better give that back right
Mario looks at King Boo determinedly, as if he's about to jump on his head.
Don't worry, Mario. I got this covered.
Yeah,
I'm your older brother.
A pipe opens from above. Just gallons of feces.
What the fuck is going on?
Mario waves his arms frantically again.
Peach drinks it.
By the way, Will Arnett is playing Luigi.
Oh, okay. And scene.
Yeah.
There we go.
Holy God.
What just happened?
Do you guys think the movie's going to be good? Or
I think it'll be okay.
If it stays that script, yeah.
I think Serial's actually onto something, and I think Illumination they've done a good job making interesting characters that don't really talk, depending on how you feel about
I think you could do it. I mean, do you think that it's going to be Charles Martinet?
It would be hard not to if it's an animated in the same style.
I don't think it will be. I don't think.
Really?
Yeah. Who would you cast as Mario?
It's going to be Josh Gad.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Sure. Why not? He could do any. Look, realistic. I love Charles Martinet, whatever. Anybody can do that one.
Chris Pratt.
I could call in my aunt right now.
What do you think Mario? What do you think Mario sounds like? Right? She'll pull something out of her pocket.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll just be Pikachu's voice from the anime movie that everyone was freaking out over.
Yeah, that's a very funny clip online.
I have some optimism for that movie.
Yeah.
I'm not. We'll see. But
do you guys want to do the Mario voice challenge, where we just call random people in our phone book and ask them to impersonate Mario?
Yeah,
absolutely.
For next week, or you want?
No, do it right now.
Let me bring my phone.
Connect
book.
us to the phone line there, Leo. You've got that all set up, right? And you've got a phone book handy. I know we keep one in the studio.
Yeah. No, I'm serious. You want to try and do this?
Just gonna do a random number.
I don't think
Leo
I have
in the booth. You have to call your aunt.
I don't think I have my aunt's. I don't have my aunt's number. I could call my mom.
Ben Hansen.
Hi, Mom. How are you?
I'm good. What's up?
Hey,
Did you miss me?
Yeah, I really did, and I didn't have Aunt Betty's phone number. But I needed to call you. Are you okay being on the podcast this week?
Huh?
Are you okay being recorded for the podcast?
Well, what's the podcast about?
Well, it's about you, Linda. We wanted to just make a point. Can you impersonate Mario?
Okay, repeat that. What?
Okay, can you do the voice of the character Super Mario? Do you know what he sounds like?
No.
If you had to guess.
But I could look it up online. So I would know.
No, that's cheating. That's cheating, Mom. You just have to wing it and guess. What does Mario sound like?
Okay.
So, action?
You mean right now?
Yes, right now!
Oh, God. Okay, what do you want me to say?
Okay, so imagine he's jumping. He's doing his signature.
He's introducing himself.
Oh, he's introducing himself. That's better. At the start of a level, what does he say?
Okay, he'd say, ooh, ah!
Is he introducing himself by falling into a pit of lava?
Well, that's kind of what I pictured from what you said. But
Yeah.
That's just the way I see it.
No, you've played video games. Okay, what about jumping? Doing a 3-point jump?
Whoop!
Yeah. All right. Are you okay? Are you okay being cast as Mario in the upcoming Mario movie?
Absolutely.
Okay. I love you, Mom. Thank you. You're the best.
I know.
Okay.
Hannah's here if you want her to play a part.
Oh, could you put her on the phone?
Here she is.
Okay.
Who is this?
I'm only going to speak to you in Danish.
Okay. Yenna, friend of the family, do you know what Super Mario sounds like?
Super Mario.
Is that just in Danish?
Yeah.
God bless you. All right. Thank you, Yenna and Mom. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, love you.
Love you too. Bye. All right. Danish Mario and very American Mario.
Absolutely proved your point.
They totally nailed it.
Get out of the way, Charles. All right, there it is.
Oh my God.
Although your mom's impersonation was totally more Toad than Mario.
How dare you? That's my mom you're talking about.
Also, like that Mario introducing himself is just screaming violently as he dies.
Apparently, you've never been introduced to my mom because that's normally how she does introductions.
I mean, you were crying the first time you met your mom.
That is true. I haven't stopped yet. So yeah, I don't know that Mario movie. I have high hopes. I hope that they don't make him talk much, but then it's just the adventure of trying to rescue Peach, or is it an origin story? Do they do another origin story of him going to the Mushroom Kingdom?
Or do you think they'll introduce a new character that basically does all the talking? Of like, everyone else here is basically playing it the way they would in the games, but we've introduced this fun new character for
Well,
the
you
movie.
know what that fun new character is going to be. It's going to be, I was just a kid playing my Nintendo, and then I got sucked into this wormhole, and now
Josh
I'm
Gad.
scared.
He's just Josh Gad plays
Yeah.
The question will be is if Mario is in Wreck-It Ralph 2, which will have the better Mario representation.
Ooh, that's a great question.
Well, I look forward to your mom as Mario. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's coming
That's how they're
soon.
going to credit her, too. Ben Hansen's mom.
Anyways, Keegan from LA says, hello, Ben and GI crew. In light of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles themselves being in Injustice 2 and Noctis being in Tekken 7, do you have a favorite fighting video game cameo? For me, it's Snake in Smash Brothers Brawl. I think that's up there for me, too.
Mm-hmm.
That was my answer by a pretty large margin.
Yeah.
Like that reveal of him being in Brawl was insane. Like watching that E3 stream.
Where
at
he
the
jumps
time.
out of the box?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked Link in Soul Calibur.
That's a good one too.
Soul Calibur. I think for me the most surprising one was the Mega Man inclusion in Street Fighter Cross Tekken because it was the Mega Man box art version.
Yeah.
That one's really cool.
I feel like that didn't get enough attention. That was pretty
incredibly
silly.
stupid. But I when I first saw it, I was like, this game's all right. Like they also had Pac-Man and I think Mokujin in those games, but yeah, those were definitely camos that I appreciated conceptually, but wasn't really a fan of.
Yeah. I think like seeing Cloud in Urgies was a real thrill, just being a huge Final Fantasy fan, 7 fan specifically, and not ever thinking that crossover would happen or that I would see him pop up in a game. Well, I guess, I take it back. I guess Tactics, he was popping up around that same time.
Like you didn't think you would ever see him in other games.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was a real thrill. And also something that I learned recently from the 8-4 Play podcast. Somebody want to punch Serial? All right, there we go. So part of this guy's email, thank you for picking up on it. If you're watching the video version, we've been touching our noses slowly. He says, this is Keegan from LA. P.S. If you want to make the question more fun, I dare you to put your finger in your nose without people noticing while you're answering the question. Then whoever puts their finger on the nose last has to get punched.
We did it.
All right.
Congratulations, Surreal.
I did it.
There we go. There's a dare. Anyways, but learned recently from the 8-4 Play podcast, right? That apparently Cloud was going to be the PlayStation fighter for Soul Calibur 2 instead of Heihachi, who was a last-second addition. But I guess the deal fell through to get Cloud Strife in there at the last second. But that would have been so awesome to see Cloud on the PS2 in that way.
Fits the motif of people having swords and stuff too. So.
Yeah. It explains a lot because Heihachi was kind of a lame cameo to me. Like just having another fighting game character and another fighting game.
Yeah, it's a little less fun.
So
yeah. What do you think about TMNT guys being in Injustice?
I'm excited.
Yeah?
Like I was like, all right, guess I'm going back to Injustice 2.
Really? Just to see them play?
Totally. Like I grew up
once?
on Ninja Turtles. Like it was like Ninja Turtles was my big thing growing up before Power Rangers, and then Power Rangers gave way to like Mario and Sonic.
Of course, the end game
Yeah.
state, I think, for culture in general. Noctis and Tekken 7. Did you watch the trailer, Serial? How does that look?
He looks like a very exaggerated version of most Tekken characters. Like he has a lot of like really high scale juggles of where opponents are in the air for way longer than they tend to be. And seeing someone, I mean, I guess it's not too crazy because Soul Calibur does this all the time, but just like seeing juggles involving swords and magic and stuff was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But he seems like, I mean, people are saying he doesn't really fit, but like, I don't know, Tekken, I guess this might be a personal thing, but I never really took Tekken's lore as seriously as a lot of other fighting games, which is, again, a relative term. But I don't know, I think it's pretty cool that Tekken is leaning in hard on that crossover stuff.
Yeah. Matthew Carmosino says, hey, what games do you think had features and gameplay that added realism and simulated elements, but also remained fun and video gamey? For myself, video games that have split elements of the mundane and fantastical really pull me in and add immersion. I like all the slice of life stuff that's in Persona because it gives a contrast from the demon slaying, but video games that focus exclusively on simulation make me want to do the activity in real life instead. I love the show, and no, I still haven't beaten Persona 5. I think the completion percentage is rigged. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you're with 100% of the people that have tried playing Persona 5 because it's never been finished by a mortal human being.
I beat Persona 5.
Never finished by a mortal human being. Absolutely. Kyle, have you beaten it?
No, of course
exactly, because it's impossible.
The game, what ends up happening?
So what are the small, realistic elements you guys like in otherwise fantastical games?
I don't know if this counts, but organizing your briefcase in Resident Evil 4, is that kind of a mundane thing that you would have to do in real life? It's like
an attaché case, Kyle.
Attaché case?
But you every time you go on the road traveling on a work trip, you bring your attaché case.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then I have to organize it. I don't know. It was just this small thing that I've always loved about Resident Evil 4 is like arranging your ammo.
I'm totally with you.
That.
I think about that analogy all the time in terms of like video workload at Game Informer, where it's like, okay, now much of a video team, how much can we rearrange in this small space? How much can we possibly get done by rearranging these several chunks?
You got to keep the rocket launcher in the bottom left corner.
Rocket launchers replay. Right, exactly. Yeah, it's always complicated. You guys have one? Just those small little things?
I like I don't know if it's a small little thing, but I like the part-time jobs you took on in No More Heroes between assassinations. Like you'd mow lawns and like collect coconuts. And I thought those were pretty fun, like little mini games. The music in them was pretty cool too.
I think most of our first jobs is either paper route or collecting coconuts.
Yeah,
I think.
Not really a fantastical game, but I like the job stuff in Shenmue.
Kyle, you recently played it in the Super
like
Replay.
The forklift stuff.
Yeah,
is that stuff still fun, or is it just a grind?
It's a grind, but it is interesting. Like it helps build that world really well. It's like, well, if I want to continue on in the story and go to the next area, like I have to get a job and I have to do the forklift every day. And you kind of like for a couple hours in that game, you kind of fall into this like you're just living a normal life. And then once you get enough money, you can go back to like, all right, now I got to go, avenge my father.
I also like things like in Shenmue and also Yakuza more recently, where you can go to like an arcade or like a bar and do like play darts or shoot pool, play old Sega games.
There's also the PSP game Work Time Fun, where it's just a bunch of tiny little games, and there's one mini game where all you do is cap pens. So it's like
Work Time Fun.
Work Time Fun abbreviates to WTF. And so there was one mini, like it was a collection of sort of like Game and Wario style games where it's just like a toy, basically a toy, and one of them was like capping pens.
WarioWare style games. Let's get it right.
Well, no, it was more Game and Wario, where instead of being like a 5-second mini game, it was just a thing you can just keep doing. So like one of them is like capping pens, and so you'd see like a pen, whether it was face up or down, and you'd have to flip it and then put the cap on it, and there was just a little counter at the bottom telling you how many pens you'd capped. And that was the entire game. Like you could just do that just to get thousands of pens capped if that's what you wanted.
Did the microtransactions bring it down though?
Oh, I mean 100. Like that game was all microtransactions. No,
Keep buying caps.
It was a very interesting work of art, if not a fantastic game.
I want to see it. Yeah. Here's my terrible weird answer for this, but like an ounce of realism in an otherwise fantastical setting. This is maybe just too outside the box, but it's the Wheatley performance in Portal 2. Specifically, like the stammers and the ums. Because I'm convinced that Portal 2, you could probably count the games on one hand whose VO has a genuine in it. And I think Portal 2 is at the top of that stack. Can you think of any other VO in any other game where there's ever been a sincere He's just trying to think of the next thing to say.
It doesn't sound like acting.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
But are you with me that Stephen Merchant is probably a sincere
I don't know. I think he's just a very natural performer. I don't know if he's like.
Do you think that's something he inserted into his performance of like here are the lines as written, and he just added stutters and
I bet he added ums.
Yeah, but it wasn't like he didn't write them in. I mean, that was just part of his performance.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what we're saying. I want to say that it was Here They Lie had these little collectibles where you just hear montages of people talking about like random elements about life or whatever, and I think those were just sort of like someone being prompted to ask a question, and I think all of that was maybe improvised, and so I think that had like stutters and ums in them.
Yeah,
and it felt like very naturalistic of these people are just being interviewed, like it's not something someone wrote. At least the way it sounded. Yeah.
Wow,
I also like the cooking in Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, absolutely. Forrest from Lawrence writes in and says, "Hey crew, based on the Dragon Ball Spectacular episode that I understand was make or break for some people. Yeah, some people really liked it. That was nice. But he's like, I've loved anime my entire life. I've never watched Dragon Ball, so we went back and watched original Dragon Ball. He finished the entire thing. He said he had a couple of bullet point thoughts. He had a tough time seeing Goku after he grew up, because seeing him as a kid for so long, he got so used to him.
Okay.
He said the series left a lot of interesting characters. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe this is... He watched Z. I'm sorry. He says the series left a lot of interesting characters like Launch, undeveloped and forgotten. I wish the series did a better job utilizing characters after their initial arcs. And the progression wasn't as bad as I expected. I came into the series thinking every arc was going to seem really similar, but each had their own unique parts that kept them interesting. Anyways, thanks. That was nice that he went back and watched those.
I like that last bullet point because that is a frustration when people are like, Dragon Ball, isn't he just like fighting the next strongest guy and fighting the next strongest guy? And it's like, no, they're all very distinct. And like,
if you zoom out, yes, but there's always
the circumstances under which he fights the different like big bad guys, I think, are usually different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Glad you watched it. Good show.
Robert,
we're still watching Super, and it's been a good time.
That's true. Robert Bond from Rochester, New York says, "Hey, crew, I was wondering if anyone in the crew, we're a crew, is a fan of the Dot Hack series of games, and if so, was anyone excited for the remaster of GU that just came out on the PS4? Dot Hack is something that there's a fan base out there. I don't know how well Game Informer has ever courted it or discussed it.
Kim's a fan.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I played the first two of those because originally it was supposed to be 4 back-to-back games. I think that would transition each other. You'd have your save and you take your character from each one to the other. And I played the first two of those, and I really enjoyed the idea of like, here's this fake interface where you logged into your PC and launched the game.
So we should explain it. Yeah, so it's a PS2 game where it simulates a character
in an MMO
going into an MMO. And so I played a little bit of that first one as well, and it was such a bizarre game within a game concept of like, we're not actually making an MMO, we're simulating one on the PS2.
Yeah, they basically made like a single player MMO.
Yeah,
which is kind of interesting at telling. You have like fake party members, and they would all act sort of autonomously, but you could issue commands and stuff. And I remember the story being pretty interesting. They had some like really interesting elements of like very kind of like latchkey kid sort of like, I mean, I come home and this is sort of like I'm just by myself and this is kind of like what I do. And the anime I remember also aired at the time, and I watched that because I liked the games. And then that ended up being its own separate storyline. But I think I just ended up falling away from it. But to answer his other question, I very briefly thought about replaying those games when the remaster came out.
All right.
Too many. Again, like with every almost games that come out this year as well. It's just I have way too much on my plate to
so many games.
To go back to that.
You're always bragging about your plate. Dalen Briggs from Iowa says, "Hey everybody, I was at my local Goodwill and I found a Super Mario Christmas VHS special. I was surprised to find something related to Mario like this that I never knew existed at a Goodwill." He attached pictures that he took at this Goodwill of this weird Mario Christmas VHS. It looks like a real hoot.
Oh, weird.
He says, "What are some weird offshoots you have randomly found that you didn't know existed, or what are some of your favorite random weird stuff like this? Thanks for your thoughts." Weird gaming offshoots that surprised you.
The Donkey Kong Country animated CGI TV show.
Oh god, that looks like garbage.
I remember I was, I found it after like being done with the games, so to speak. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then it about a quarter of the way through like one episode, it turned out the show's a musical. Like every episode has original songs in it, and they're not good. Like
but they're not based on like the country soundtracks, right?
No. That's that
These
would
are all original, baby.
Get Kirk Hope in there to like mix it. No, but
Wise.
Excuse me, David Wise.
Jesus Christ. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
This isn't a Banjo-Kazooie cartoon.
Oh my gosh, but it's not a good show, and it really, really made me upset.
Leo in the booth, can you randomly pull up one of those songs? I'm really curious what that sounds like.
There's one about Donkey Kong bemoaning the fact that he's been turned into a ghost that I think is very
Did you watch this old show?
I know, I watched that clip a little while ago.
It's a while ago?
It was like one of those posts that someone, oh man, God, this was crazy, and it blew up on Twitter.
Oh man, God, I pray to thee, God, strike me down.
It's crazy because the animation of the show like looks worse than the game in a way. Like the models that they made for the game look way better than the ones that actually.
This is like Beast Wars era, like
it's bad,
very bad CG animation.
Personally, golden age of television, Beast Wars era
reboot.
Oh, here we go.
Guess that was Diddy and Donkey.
This is the song I think I'm. Yeah.
I'm kind of into it.
This is Donkey Kong rapping, by the way.
Is this Lin-Manuel?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. This one actually seems alright.
Hey, Kyle. This is the
Maybe
best song I've ever heard in my life.
It's kind of funky.
Funky Kong.
Yes,
yeah. I mean, this compared to DK Rap, as far as the Donkey Kong series music, like, one of these is really skyrocketing. All right, Leo, I think we're good in there. Thank you.
No, keep it rolling.
No, we're good. We're good.
Thank you, Leo.
So Dominic C. Choki says, "Hey everybody, Dominic from Chicago here. Last week's podcast featured an email asking what sort of Nintendo crossover game we'd like to see next. Banking on that, I'd like to take it a step further.
Ooh,
which
intriguing.
Which Nintendo IP would y'all like to take and revive into something new? My own answer would be an F-Zero revival, but while racing would still be a component of the game, I think they could use Captain Falcon's personality and popularity to make him the star of a 2D side-scrolling brawler. Basically, Mortal Kombat mythologies. The hell out of Captain
They could
Falcon.
just use the Super Smash Brothers engine to make a side scroller.
That game exists on 3DS. You just play that mode with Captain Falcon, and you're good.
Yeah, right. Or even just like Brawl's
Subspace Emissary.
Subspace Emissary. Who can forget that name? Which Nintendo IP would you all like to take and revive into something new? Isn't just asking for another sequel or franchise. Asking which series should be taken, revamped, and delivered in a vastly and more satisfying way.
I still like the world of Star Fox, and I would like a version of that game where I can kind of like be on their space station and walk around and explore it.
What if their space station wasn't so much a space station as it was a slowly orbiting planet filled with dinosaur characters?
I don't want less fantasy, more science fiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gritty sci-fi.
Gritty. Yeah. I want dirt in that fur.
Okay. All right.
But to piggyback off of that answer, I also want the traditional like N64 style space combat levels as well. Like remember how Star Fox Adventures started, where like you had that like they totally faked you out. Like this is going to be another like real Star Fox game, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, now he's on foot
because you crash land the R-wing right away.
Yeah.
It's like mix both of those in, and I think you have a really good game.
An Ice Climbers open world survival game.
Absolutely.
There you
Suriel took it out of my mouth. Prince writes in and says, by the way, if this makes it on the show, I'm from Athens, Georgia, so it made it on the show. Hello, Prince. My question is, pick one of your favorite game, movie, TV shows and trash talk it. Talk about your gripes with it, including what you'd say to someone you're trying to discourage from consuming said piece of entertainment. It's easy to gush about your favorite thing, but can you bring yourself to talk crap about it?
Okay, any game, movie, or TV show.
Anything.
Or book.
Trash talk your favorite thing.
Akira is confusing as hell and very difficult to follow, but I adore that movie.
What do you adore about it?
I don't know. It's right place and time when I first watched it. Now I watch it like once a year. I watch that movie. Yeah. It's
do you understand exactly what's going on at this point?
I don't know. That's the thing, because it's there's the comic. Like I read the whole manga, which is really awesome and gives a lot more detail to that
mango.
world. Mango.
Yeah.
I read the mangoes, all 6 volumes of mangoes, and it's a weird like different story, but it gives some like you have a little better understanding of exactly what happened. But the end of that movie is still intentionally ambiguous to the point of maybe frustration. So, but damn, it looks nice.
It looks okay.
It looks
good. It looks good. It looks good first time, certainly.
No, for right now, it still looks great.
Okay. I'll go with Nathan for you. It's been on my mind lately.
That's a good one.
I just marathoned all of season 4 over the weekend, which is very easy to do.
4
by the way.
seasons already?
Yeah.
Holy
They're all
crap.
pretty short though.
Yeah, they are exceptionally short. This one especially. It's only 6 episodes, I think. Leo, correct me if I'm wrong.
It was a fewer episode count, but the first and last one were way longer, so overall it's more content.
Yeah, for sure. So the first is like a big reunion episode where they go back and visit a bunch of people, and the final episode is this 2-hour with commercials, basically full-length documentary journeying into the guy who impersonates Bill Gates. If I had to trash it, I think more is fake on that show than you would like to believe. I mean, Nathan Fielder even in Ask Me Anything said, like, by the end of it, everybody's in on it. Everybody knows exactly what's going on at the end of every segment. Also, I think it's fair to say it's mean. Every once in a while, taking advantage of people in some pretty mean-spirited ways. That said, one of the best shows on TV. Amazing, amazing, amazing show. What's your favorite thing, and how are you going to trash talk it, Suriel?
What's my favorite thing? Well, my parent. No. Dota 2's microtransactions are increasingly Byzantine. Even though they're all cosmetic, it is just layers upon layers of just you buy this like season pass. Basically, it's like $10, and you don't really know you get a bunch of quests, and then you unlock sets that you may have to pay for additionally on top of that. You have like this slot machine that you have to come back every 3 days for, and if you miss that chance, you just miss out on points that you can earn to unlock more items. There's a bunch of like ridiculous unlocks that you have to spend over $1,000 to basically just unlock, and they add sets so often that you can't buy them all, and they all have the same aesthetic of like, here's a bunch of spikes, here's a bunch of glowy bits, like we just threw them on this character wherever we thought that it was appropriate.
Plus, the game's a MOBA.
Exactly, that's another now. But that is increasingly an issue of just like, anytime someone's like, oh, what should I spend my money on in Dota? I just like no idea, which is a question no one's ever asked me before. But
just imagine you De Niroing into a mirror.
Yeah. Okay. What should I spend my money on Dota? But yeah, like that entire I appreciate that all the characters are free, so I'm willing to put up with it, and so it's not ever gameplay relevant. But like some of this stuff, I'm just like, man, you guys are finding new. You are innovating in perhaps the wrong direction here a lot of the time.
Shay, favorite thing?
Favorite thing? God, I have to trash it.
Your kitty.
He's a real piece of garbage. His hair is long and red and stupid, and he wears dumb glasses.
Oh, I'm your favorite thing? I'm ignoring the rest of this.
Knuckles the kid now. What?
There you go.
But let's see. Can I just do a rundown of a few different things?
Oh, your favorite thing.
Well, I was going to trash Sonic and Pokemon and Overwatch.
Choose one.
Okay.
Overwatch.
All right. Well, they keep messing with the meta. They can't figure out like the right balance between these characters. Mercy's still extremely overpowered and has been for a long time. And if it's not Mercy, it's another character that's extremely overpowered. They just keep tinkering with it. I think Blizzard World is a crock of shit. I think.
Are you kidding me?
I think that is the biggest like head up their own ass moment in that entire game's history.
The most fun-looking map they've ever designed.
Don't
for
get me
Overwatch?
wrong. That game, Blizzard does a great job designing maps, and I think that map is going to be extremely fun.
There we go. End of sentence.
But like they're imagining like the future where Blizzard is so great that this future that they have theorized has an amusement park devoted to them.
Do you really think if you put a gun to the head of a Blizzard designer and said, is Overwatch your actual prediction of how the world's going to pan out? Of course not. Why not make it a wacky fun thing?
They're putting it forward like this is like the future where robots have come and killed everyone, and it's like, no,
but StarCraft 2 still exists, and
Blizzard is the Taco Bell.
Like
of,
if they want to do
their
crossovers,
future.
do Heroes of the Storm.
Jesus, Martha.
Also, loot boxes.
Loot boxes.
Wait, you love loot boxes?
Gail Hermie.
Sorry, Overwatch.
From Brazil.
I love you.
They're not listening.
Guillermo.
Guillermo?
Guilherme.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, a friend from Brazil, Big G, says, hey guys, what are your rules for 3 games being a trilogy? I love this question. For instance, when we have just 3 games of a franchise in the same system in a short period of time, even though that franchise has more games, as long as those games don't keep a long history linked, I like to consider it a trilogy. For example, Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 for PlayStation 1, as well as GTA 3, Vice City San Andreas for PS2. Does it need to be a sequel or prequel? Should the system the games are on count to make it a trilogy? You understand this question?
What are the rules?
Yeah, is Resident Evil 1, 2, 3 considered a trilogy? Is it fair to consider it a trilogy because they're linked from the system?
No. I think that's just an ongoing series. Like Star Wars has trilogies because they're arcs that are like well defined, you know? Like this is the prequel trilogy because it tells the story of Anakin's like kind of rise and fall. And then the original trilogy is, you know, Luke's ascension into becoming a Jedi and taking down Anakin.
I feel like it's stronger to call it. You wouldn't call it a Star Wars trilogy. You'd call it a Star Wars. What's 9? What are we at?
No. They're 3 individual trilogies because they're 3 distinct arcs.
That's how we refer to them. The prequel trilogy, the original.
I guess you
trilogy.
say the Star Wars series if you're talking about it overall, though, right?
Yeah.
What about stuff like Halo 1, 2, 3?
It's a great example. Would you
That's
consider that a trilogy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's an arc that started and came all the way to its conclusion.
So its story makes it a trilogy.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
I think the distinguishing factor here is I don't think, as far as I remember, Resident Evil 3 doesn't necessarily wrap up like a large part of the narrative of the first 2 games, right? So that, I think like Mass Effect is a trilogy because at the end of Mass Effect 3, there is an ending that ties back to the first 2 games.
Right.
Whereas I don't think that's the case with Resident Evil 3.
What about like Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3? No,
No,
not a trilogy.
I don't think
ongoing
that's-
series.
because
yeah.
of the system.
Also,
You could
3's
almost
a
consider
prequel.
1 through 4 a quadrilogy in that I think Metal Gear 5 Solid 4 does act as like a bow on the rest of that
Yeah.
series.
Well, I'm trying to think of a series where like the second one's like a prequel, other than Godfather, like in the gaming world. Like would you still consider that? There's got to be those video game examples where the second one
Yeah.
jumps back.
I guess the closest thing we have is Arkham Origins, but that's not really part of.
Well, they call it the Rocksteady trilogy,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird,
and that spans multiple consoles.
Yeah,
That's another one. Yeah.
I like the console bundling. I think it's a
I
neat little
think
thing.
that's an arbitrary bundle.
Arbitrary
completely
bundle.
arbitrary.
He's put the stamp down.
Yeah.
Shay's arbitrary bundle
I mean,
stamp.
you can call it like an arc in that series' history. Like Resident
Yeah.
Evil 1, 2, and 3, and maybe Veronica are sort of like one arc versus
Yeah.
4, 5, and 6 on like more recent consoles. I think that is its own arc, but I don't know that I'd call it a trilogy.
Darksiders 2 takes place simultaneously as Darksiders 1.
And
That's almost
who
a
can
prequel.
argue with that? Mike from Maine writes in and says, "Hello, Ben and crew. For any of the staff who are playing Mario Odyssey, are there any music tracks that stand out to you other than the Superstar song?" Hey, stay tuned. Coming up after this, we're going to be talking about our favorite music of the year. Maybe it'll come up.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, here we have a wonderful question from Victor Pham saying, with the release of Thor Ragnarok, what's your favorite Marvel Studios film? Why do you think they've been so successful in building a cinematic universe where other studios have failed? I don't think Marvel, the filmmaking division within Marvel, and Kevin Feige, overall producer over there, gets enough credit. Like, what other series of films? They've released 17
A
films?
lot, yeah.
And there have been some, like Iron Man 2, maybe, that are like 6 out of 10. But there have not been any stinkers. And to have
Correct.
that streak, I think, is unprecedented in all of Hollywood history, as far as I can think of.
So this is a question that is specifically geared towards me, I feel, because I am the only loser in this office, I think, that keeps a running rank of all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Like I have it on my phone, like in my notes app.
So let's go top 5 around the table.
All right, let me get my list out.
Do we want to start with Shay or do we want to end with Shay?
Shay's pulling it up on his phone. So
Okay, so top 5?
top 5.
Okay.
If you can't do it, that's fine. So
think I
my
will,
top 5. I love Thor Ragnarok. There's a part of me that thinks almost a little too silly. I've never thought I would say that about a movie, but
I think
it's
so.
funny. It hits a lot of those jokes, but I don't know. I feel like there's got to be an edge.
It just couldn't let itself have a cool moment, I felt
I
like.
haven't seen it, but
Yeah.
that sounds completely against the idea of it being called Ragnarok.
Well,
It makes sense in the context of the
it
film.
makes sense,
Okay.
but it's still
All right.
very, very confusing. And like, I think it's going to be such an abrupt transition where Black Panther I think looks cool, but I haven't really seen a joke from any of those trailers or clips.
It's weird to me that you say that because like I just treat them as totally separate. You know,
But don't you think there's a Marvel continuity where it's like, oh, I love Marvel films. I'm going to see the next Marvel movie. And I think going from Thor Ragnarok, the jokiest thing,
Yeah.
the jokiest action movie maybe ever made, going to Black Panther, which I hope there are a lot of jokes. It has not come through yet that there are. And that character does not seem jokey to me.
I don't know. I just like because the thing that has always kind of bugged me about the Marvel movies is that they're just too consistent, and I like that Ragnarok sticks out as being like really feeling like its own thing, and like you can see the director's stamp on it. Where like every other Marvel movie, I really pay attention to directors, and I'm always like want to know who's directing what, and like
You can really see Edgar Wright's stamp on Ant-Man. Sorry.
I feel like James Gunn did a pretty good job with leaving his mark on Guardians.
Which, by the way, I would say that's my favorite is the original Guardians. I think
Really?
but Thor I would maybe even put at number 2 just because like it feels distinct, and I just like Waititi. Like I just think he's really
Director.
funny, and like it really came across in the film, and I fell asleep halfway through the original Thor. I never saw Thor 2. I feel like that film was made for me, like that kind of fan that's not super invested in the story of Thor. I don't care. Just give me something fun and flashy, and I really enjoyed Ragnarok a lot for that reason.
All right, my top 5 quickly. Number 1, Avengers 1. Number 2, Captain America: Civil War. Number 3, Spider-Man: Homecoming. I love that movie. I don't know if it was just a weird
It's in the
spot
middle
my
for
life
me.
when I watched it, but good God. Number 4, controversial maybe, Iron Man 3.
Wow.
Okay. I love just
I can
his
see it.
weird, it's dumb to call it gritty, but just him having PTSD after the events of Avengers and just so much of that movie taking place in the snow. He doesn't have a suit. It's so different and so strange. Just seeing how scared he is throughout that movie. I think it's so unique.
I like that a lot, that aspect of it.
Last one is Winter Soldier. Those are my top five.
Okay, so maybe Guardians, probably Thor, Guardians 2, then probably Avengers and Spider-Man.
Okay.
I think.
I would probably say Homecoming number 1.
Wow.
Iron Man number 2. Civil War number 3. Avengers number 4. And then I think I had issues with picking my 5th one. The Fox stuff doesn't count, right?
No, MCU.
God, no.
Because I would put Logan there, but
You can put Logan there.
okay, I'll put Logan there.
You can't.
Okay.
Okay.
Judges, does that count, Kyle?
I'm looking at Leo.
Leo in the
Do you have
booth?
the Family Feud X?
Yeah,
No,
he says
he
no
says
go.
no. He
He's
says
giving
get
it
out of here.
Sorry, Shirley, you gotta go. You gotta get out of this room.
All right, so you got I think maybe Incredible Hulk.
I like that.
Also-
I like it.
Debatable.
With
Debatable
Edward
if it
Norton?
counts.
I like that one.
No,
Norton, right?
not yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the only one they've
not,
done.
Not the
only
Ang Lee
standalone
one.
It's not. I don't think they recognize it as an official
Sure.
Marvel film.
Ang
It
Lee
is-
or
Well,
no. The
I think-
Edgar Norton or the
If,
No, it is.
If that doesn't count, then I think Iron Man 3.
it's considered in the MCU. It's just they can't make another one because Universal owns the rights.
I understand that, but even like this is a dumb maybe way to categorize it, but like when you're watching a bunch of Marvel films on a plane, they call them all Marvel's Captain America Civil War, Marvel's Iron Man 2, and then Incredible Hulk is off on its own.
I think that's a licensing thing more.
Just
because
they can't put Marvels,
Yeah.
but still technically they consider it 100% an MCU.
Yeah, I mean they have like callbacks to
I
it,
know.
like
I guess
subtle
it's the
callbacks,
character.
Yeah.
And- yeah. Okay. Let's go.
All right,
Shay.
my top 5: Guardians 1, Avengers 1, Civil War, Winter Soldier, Iron Man 1.
There we go.
You did it.
Bottom
Pack
one
it
is
up.
Thor: Dark World.
I do. Love
Oh, and
that.
the reason that I think that Marvel is so successful at this where
Yeah.
other people aren't is that they've really planned this from the start. Like after they saw how Iron Man 1 turned out, like they were like, oh, we should probably set up like a roadmap and set up like a thing that's going to bring these properties together.
They filmed that tease at the end of the
Yeah,
Avengers.
I actually talked to Brian Michael Bendis about that scene because like they called him like after they finished shooting. They're like, "Hey, we need you to write a line for Samuel L. Jackson to tell Tony Stark about like putting together the Avengers."
He said, "Watch Powers on the PlayStation 4."
That's actually what the interview was about, but we talked about Marvel. Like
That was the original line. he
80%
wrote for
of
the
the
It really
game
is.
as well.
I think you're right. I think it really is that successful first step. It's like once that first step was locked in, they were good to go.
And they took their time with letting it develop. Like they didn't say, "All right, we got Iron Man, go to Avengers immediately," like DC did. Like where they were like, "All right, we got Man of Steel, let's jump to Batman, Superman with Wonder Woman and
Yeah.
everybody else."
That's it. My main critique of the Marvel universe. I think they're all fun. I think it's a crazy series of Hail Marys that they've landed all these films. Hats off to them. But I really don't give a crap about Thanos.
I do. I'm excited for that.
I saw him in the Telltale game, and it's like, okay, he punches hard. Like, I have no sense of why I should be scared of him. I have no reason to hate him. He's just a dumb-looking guy that pops up at the end of every movie, and I say, okay, let's move on to the next one.
I think they've done a pretty good job of teasing him, but I think the end result of that tease will just be like, I'm a very powerful bad guy, and you're going to find the MacGuffin to beat me. Like
Right.
that is going to be that story arc. It's
But
not
if
gonna
imagine every tease post-credits was just Thanos, and he just had a live-action puppy, and he just like twisted the neck off it
Just
every time.
killing people.
Yeah.
He kills the waitress from Avengers. That
Exactly.
full frame shot
Why not?
For some reason.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Ashley
Ellie
Johnson
from The Last of Us. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But like the thing about Thanos, isn't it like the Infinity Gauntlet is like his main power, where he can just like use all the stones. But
look,
like
they fought such crazy over the top things, like the end of Doctor Strange. Like I can't imagine something being more powerful than that. I can't.
if he
relate
has
to
the
anything
Infinity
being more
Stones, he's
powerful.
going to be more powerful.
Okay, hang on. This stuff's made up, you guys.
What a bunch
No!
of crap.
Keep debating.
Felix from Paris writes in and says, "Hello, Hairless Ben and crew. I was having a wee chat. Paris.
A Wii?
A wee
So
chat.
yes, chat.
WII.
Oh, not about the console.
No,
It
no,
was
no,
a
no.
small, tiny one.
Right. I was having a Wii U chat with a friend working in the game industry, telling him that my most awaited game is Cyberpunk 2077.
Ooh.
He promptly told me that some buddies of his were working at CD Projekt Red and development on the game. Do you guys know how the sentence is going to end?
Has stalled.
Was complicated and going through troubles, and that I shouldn't be too hopeful to see the game come anytime soon or in any good shape. Now my excitement is shot. Thanks, buddy. Is this how working in or near the game industry feels like? Trouble at every corner and tales of abysmal development. How do you guys keep an overall positive outlook on upcoming games when I'm sure you're hearing stories like that every day? Or is my friend just a gloomy butthole?
I mean, they can be. They're not mutually exclusive. He can be a gloomy butthole.
Mr. Gloomy Butthole.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I think you can never overestimate or underestimate how rough all games are until they ship. And how quickly, I mean, we barely see through the keyhole into game development, visiting studios for cover story trips and whatnot, and just doing interviews. But a recurring thing again and again is everybody says that this thing is a disaster, and then last second they plug all the Legos together, hope that it's not too glitchy, and then shove it out the door, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And so, yeah, you hear, I don't know if this is true, but Cyberpunk, if it's having a tough development, I'm sure Witcher 3 was a tough development, and there were stretches in there where everyone was pulling their hair out and saying, this is the worst thing in the world. What
the
have
game
we
is
done?
so ambitious. Like, how could it not have gone through stretches like that?
And so maybe it's a good thing that you hear Cyberpunk is
maybe they're
in theory having
retooling
a
it.
tough
Maybe
time.
it sucked and like the conceptually, and they're retooling it, and that's causing a lot of problems.
And now it's a fantasy game.
Right, exactly.
I mean, one of the most
Witcher 4 starring Siri. I feel like as you like learn more about the industry and stuff, I feel like you learn not to read too much into those kinds of things.
Yeah.
With rare exceptions.
Mass Effect Andromeda.
Right. Like just you don't really know for sure until the end result is there, like you said.
Yes. So don't give up hope.
Yeah, it's very easy to withhold judgment until you're actually playing that game. Like just wait for that.
Unless it's Gears of War Judgment.
Yeah, like Final Fantasy 15 was one of the most famously like tumultuous development cycles because they announced it as a different game altogether, and then changed hands multiple times in terms of directors. And I personally like that game a lot. Obviously, it had some problems at launch, but they've addressed a lot of them. I think that the way I reassure myself is like a good developer or a good publisher, for that matter, is going to delay it until it's either no longer profitable to do so or until it's a good game.
Right there, Hanson.
You just got to put faith in the publisher is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that they're going to allow it to become a better game. And if a game gets delayed and you're like, oh, well, that sucks. I was really looking forward to playing that.
Yeah.
Chances are it's going to make it a better game because of it.
I think Hanson's brain is stalling.
I just think it's funny just to let it sit after Shay says something. Sorry. All right,
It's
Caleb,
very funny.
I think it's funny.
Very
Caleb
funny,
from
guys.
South Carolina says, hey guys, how do you feel about console games having mouse pointers that you move with the stick instead of just using the D-pad to make menu selections? I feel the D-pad is 1,000 times faster at this because I always overshoot the menu buttons. Problem began with Destiny 1 with this mouse cursor on console thing, and a lot of free games use this, like Onigiri? From what I've seen of Assassin's Creed Origins, it's there too. What do you guys think about the trend that, I think he's totally right, it's that cursor movement from Destiny 1 that is slowly infiltrating the rest of the industry?
Yeah. I definitely appreciated the cursor movement in Destiny 2 on PC, where it is super appropriate, but it is... the interface in Destiny has won awards, but like I don't necessarily care for it. Like, just give me a D-pad to thumb through those options. It's not. I don't necessarily think that cursor enhances the experience in any way.
Yeah, it's certainly unique. Actually, on the first Destiny 1 cover story we did, we talked to the art director at the time, who went on to direct Iron Banner. No, help me out. What is this last expansion for
Rise of Iron?
Yeah, Rise of Iron. And he was talking about designing that cursor, and like, I don't know if other companies are gonna try and take it and make it their own, but he was saying that was Jason Jones, who's been a creative force within Bungie for ever and ever and ever, that was really his baby. That he's like, there's no way to navigate this variety of menus that we want to have in Destiny without having this free-floating cursor. And like, it was a bold move. Like, it really stood out when it first came out. But I think one of the secret little additions that also I think Destiny got rolling in a big way is the soft select, right? Where you select the something in a menu or an option, and then it's like filling up the button press. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, as you're saying
Fable
this,
2 did that.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's where I remember seeing it.
As you're saying
maybe
this,
I'm
I
wrong.
realize that's very similar to a lot of Kinect games, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
totally right. I think ultimately...
Is Destiny made for Kinect?
Oh, originally. Good conspiracy theory.
Jason Jones, let us know.
Well, it's just a matter of not
Podcast GameInformer.com.
of there being no line between controlling on-screen aiming reticle and going into the menu, right? Like, you don't have to shift your brain at all to like go between which works. I think it's fine. I'm okay with it.
It's psychologically training you to always follow a cursor.
Yeah,
right.
It hasn't been shattering brains throughout all
No.
of gaming history to have to switch.
That was my first thought. I was like, oh, I get it. I'm controlling this the same way I control walking around, basically.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, I guess so. It is definitely more and more. There's some menus in Monster Hunter World which even use it. Like, I forget if it's like crafting. There's some menu where they use it, and so I'm wondering.
Assassin's Creed Origins uses it.
Yeah, that's what
I'd be
they're saying.
interested. I'd be curious to see what developers' arguments for it, because like I don't know. Like, I think someone would have to say like, here are the noticeable benefits you get when you use this cursor.
I am curious about the soft selecting thing of like filling up the meter to hit X. Let me know when you first encountered that. Fable 2 is a good example.
Fable 2, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Jason Andrian says, "Hey GI crew, Jason from Reno. Hello. Non-gaming question: if you hit yourself and it hurts, are you weak or are you strong?"
I think strong.
You're human.
Yeah, you're just human, baby. All right, email of the week. What do you guys like?
I like the talk crap about the thing you love. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I
into that
agree.
one.
I like that. I
still
like the
feel bad
trilogy
about that.
one, but they were in Paris. All right, talk crap about the thing you love. That is Prince from Athens, Georgia. Congratulations, man. We should get something real nice. As for now, you probably hear that music, so it's time to talk about music. You guys ready to jump into a segment talking about video game music from the year 2017?
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Let's go. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We're back to talk about music from the year 2017, video game music specifically. So we're kind of doing this in an around the horn fashion where we have our top 3 tracks. We're going to go around, play a clip, dissect it, really get to the soul of the performance, say what game it's from, and then move on to the next person. So top 3 video game tracks from the year 2017.
Are we
Great
guessing
year.
the music? Like, do we play the song and then guess?
No, this
Okay.
isn't the game
It's not a
trivia, or
game.
the music
Okay.
trivia, which we did once with
That was
these
fun.
two.
I liked that a lot.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we should do that again.
No.
Okay, number 3, Brian Shea. Take it away, sir.
Boy. All right. Go ahead, Leo. Are we supposed to have him play it and then we
You
Why don't
should
you
say
go
what
and
it is.
remind me what it is.
So I'm gonna do Mirage Saloon Act 1 from Sonic Mania.
Oh,
There we go. No,
Okay.
that's good.
Mirage Saloon.
I don't think I got to this level.
It's a Wild West theme,
Oh,
as you can probably guess.
shit, this doesn't suck.
Sonic has always had good music.
I like it less now.
Yeah. Who was your favorite electric guitar player in the Wild West?
In the Wild West?
I can't think of a good pun. I don't know.
I was thinking too.
The gunstringer. I don't know.
St. Vincent of Earl.
Yeah.
Someone will get that joke.
It's good, Shay. Great choice.
Sure.
You did it.
Is it your favorite track from Sonic Mania?
It's the one that I remember the most. So
Yeah.
I think it's there. Yeah, probably.
What is it starts with Green Hill, and then what's this, Chemical Plant?
Yeah, Chemical Plant. I actually almost chose Chemical Plant
That's
Act
probably
2
my favorite,
because
yeah.
it's like a remix of the original Chemical Plant, which is such a
Yeah.
great song.
Yeah.
But
Feels almost like cheating for the
yeah,
segment.
exactly. I tried not to for Mario Odyssey. I didn't want to choose like the band covering the Mario Brothers theme.
Right. That'd be so lame, and I hope Kyle didn't do it. All right. All right. Now that we're past Sonic, we're gonna talk less during the songs. I'm sorry, everybody. Serial number 3.
The victory theme from Persona 5.
Victory theme specifically.
Yeah.
Favorite Persona 5 track.
It's one of those things where I think the Persona 5 soundtrack is one of the best of the year. It was kind of hard picking a track. It's either this or the opening song.
Yeah.
But I have a
up,
specific
stand up.
attachment to this song just because it is a song you hear a lot throughout the game,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that they pretty much nailed it. It is a song I never got tired of hearing. I would often make sure that I listened to the whole song after a fight early on. Later on, I truncated it a lot.
Speaking of listening to the whole
500
song,
hours.
we should listen to
Okay.
the song here, right?
Okay.
It's gonna loop soon. Maybe.
Yeah, it's funny because it seems like everybody talks about You'll Never See It Coming. As
Yeah.
like, is that the go-to track pop culture wise?
Yeah, I think because it has like a phrase that is easy
Yeah.
to repeat and make into memes. But I like that this song is very good at conveying that game's tone, and also sometimes you'll hear it overlaid with like the ending all out
no
attack
ending
theme, or like the all out attack image, which has this really nice whine at the end where it goes. And then like all the
Very
enemies
pleasant to
die.
hear.
Beautiful.
Sorry, that's my impression.
Was
of
that your
music.
Mario
Yeah,
impersonation?
that's. I figured out audition, you know. but I like the way it synchronizes with the rest of the game,
Yeah.
which is a nice touch.
That is a great one. You
I
can
really like that
hear
song.
the red.
Yeah.
You
can hear the red.
Kyle Hilliard, you're number 3.
Number 3. So this is, if you haven't played Hellblade and you're planning on Hellblade, this is like a minor Hellblade spoiler because this is from the end of the game. So if you don't want to hear the end music of Hellblade, you can hit 15 seconds.
But it's not going to say like I'm the boss.
No. But
it was all a dream.
have you guys all played Hellblade?
I have not gotten to the end.
This song surprised me. Like, it doesn't sound like it belongs in Hellblade, which is.
Is this a song that plays over the credits?
It does not play over the credits. It plays over the final like confrontation.
Let's hear it here.
Yeah.
I got a massage to this song one time.
This is a Club Med commercial.
Kyle, I'm so glad you chose this because this is the song, like a stripped down version of the song. This is what they used in every dev diary that they pumped out during Hellblade, and we used it. We made a joke about this song in our rapid fire questions with Ninja Theory.
Oh, did you?
Where we say,
is it someone? Okay.
Yeah, we say, hey, you want to pipe in some of that dev diary music? And this is the music they sent us.
It's Passarella Death Squad, I guess, is the group that put it together. But
oh wow!
In the context of the game, and it's awesome because like it's the final confrontation, which is really cool. It's this big emotional crescendo for Senua's journey. And it like the music starts overpowering everything, like sound effects, and it really ties the game together in the end really well. Sarah, I don't know if maybe you feel the same way, but I really love like the last like 30, 45 minutes of that game.
Yeah.
And I think this is part of the reason why. So.
My number 3, it's from a game that just came out, and I understand that there's a lot of backlash about the look and feel of this game on the internet, but it's got the original series composer back on board, and I think it comes out in a strong way. This is the main title theme to Harvest Moon Light of Hope, if you want to put it up there from the booth. There we go.
Whistle.
Anson, do you want to make a case for why?
Light of Hope
That's
soundtrack.
a cat walking across a keyboard.
Harvest Moon is notorious for a great soundtrack, and I feel like Light of Hope, out now on Steam, brings it home.
I picture somebody with one finger.
Oh, okay.
Is that a joke?
Yeah, that's a joke.
Okay,
Okay, let's get it. Realistically, my choice, it's a song that I bet when it was originally composed had no concept of how much it would be listened to because songs are sentient, right? But it's just amazing that a new series can get out of the gate with such a strong theme. Like it reminds me of like a Battlefield theme, which is fantastic.
I hope to God Leo just cuts back to the Harvest Moon.
No. Anyways, my number 3 choice is the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds main theme. So let's take a listen to that. For a song that's probably one of the most heard songs in the world at this point, I think they got out of the gate so strong with a nice, simple theme. There's probably a million covers of it just on a simple piano on YouTube.
I hate to break it to you, but that's just the theme from Max Payne. It's just what that is.
Is it really?
No, it sounds a lot like it though.
Also, I couldn't find the composer online, so if anyone has any insight, please let me know.
It was me.
Oh, well done. Shay,
thanks.
speaking of music,
Composer
you're number
unknown, am I
2.
right?
Well,
Wait, hang on. Sorry, what?
I said composer unknown.
That's fine.
Leo liked it.
Yeah, that's good. Shay.
Mario Odyssey.
Just that song, the song
It
Mario
is.
Odyssey.
I had to look at my notes. It's the Wooded Kingdom theme.
That's your number 2.
Steam Gardens.
Let's pipe it in here. Sounds standard. Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
Shay,
Yes.
I love that choice.
It's a good pick.
I think it's the
Thanks.
strongest pick from Mario Odyssey.
I'm glad you picked that one because that was in contention for my number 3.
Also,
Well-
I love that if you haven't played the game and you just heard that track, you'd be like, okay, this is from like the beach kingdom. Like, no, it's from the dark, spooky forest. That's how awesome
also-
and bizarre
it's-
that game is.
It sneaks up on you too because
Yeah.
it does not. I like it because it almost feels like it doesn't belong in that area. It's really cool. It's a good
Yeah,
track.
and it's that classic conundrum where there are 3 different composers, one of them being Koji Kondo, on Mario Odyssey, and I don't know if we'll ever know who actually wrote the specific theme, but yeah. It's my favorite from the game as well. Shay or Serial, number 2.
My pick for number 2 is the Threatenin' Zeppelin song from Cuphead.
Threatenin' Zeppelin. It sounds like the intro to like a wacky caper, where it's like the animated intro, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids style, I guess. Yeah.
Does listening to this just make you like mad and like tense up? And
I makes me think of the boss fight that
Yeah.
accompanies it, which I played early on and was sort of my first stopping point of like, oh, god damn it.
Yeah.
it's good.
The boss is pretty good. Like it's a pretty good boss, and it was a case where there were multiple songs on that soundtrack that I had to choose among. So I think this is probably my favorite one. So
Cool to have a big band sound.
yeah,
Between this and Mario.
yeah.
This has a better sound than Mario. Anyways, Kyle, number 2.
Okay. I try to kind of go lesser known music from this year. So this is actually from the game Nog, G-N-O-G. It was like a puzzle game that Double Fine published.
Oh, weird.
The music was like one of the best parts of that game. And the song's called Purple, but it's spelled funny.
I can really feel the purple.
That's all right.
That's good. I feel like puzzle game music is underrated. That's a really hard note, no pun intended, to hit, right?
It's from a guy, I guess he goes by Marsky. Like he's like an artist that did the soundtrack for the game. And that particular puzzle, you're actually like manipulating a music box, which is kind of cool.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Great choice. My number 2, Shay, we've never bonded so much in our lives. Wooded Kingdom from Mario Odyssey. Also my number 2.
Play it again.
One more time. Sounds like a beach song.
It's a Donkey Kong country.
Awesome. Shay, you're number 1.
All right, so this was a hard one for me because I wanted to shout out to my favorite soundtrack of the year, Persona 5. I just didn't know which song because there are so many great songs on that soundtrack. The Atlas sound team plus Lynn, I believe, is the female vocalist in a lot of the songs. She did the "You'll Never See It Coming" and the main song. So many great songs in that. I almost went with "River in the Desert," but I'm going to go with "Life Will Change," but the instrumental version.
Is it in the game?
It is.
Then it counts. Since there are no lyrics, how do the lyrics go? What are they about?
Oh boy, I could bring it up on my phone.
No, that's fine.
But I think that context also played a part in why I chose that song. It's because like this is right after you send the calling card to like your target, and it's like, all right, let's go and finally polish off this palace, which you've been in for like 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of why I chose that song.
It plays in a very good like now or never moment because like it
sweet.
heightens the alert, and if you fail, like there's supposed to be a big consequence. So it's
nice.
It's as someone who has finished the game, it is a good consistent theme that they.
I'm sorry, your microphone cut out for a second.
Yeah, I was the first thing.
So at the end of Persona 5, which I have finished.
Great choice. Serial number 1.
My number 1 choice is from my favorite soundtrack of the year, which is Gravity Rush 2's soundtrack, which is maybe the best part of that game. This song is called Le Havina, and this plays. So one of my favorite things about the game is that the biggest area in the game is 3 layered areas that are separate islands in the sky, and so as you sort of fall, because the main mechanic of that game is that you can basically fly wherever you want, and so as you transition from one island to another, it changes the theme, and this is sort of the highest most island that you can get to, and so, I mean, we'll just let it play.
That sounds good.
Baker Street?
How dare you? Good choice, Serial. That's an odd one.
I like the soundtrack a lot. It has a lot of variety in terms of styles of music. It goes from something like that with a lot of sax into it to some more sort of more obvious orchestral themes. There's a lot of like fun instruments that you remember very clearly from that game that don't feel like, oh, this is a soundtrack like you might find in a lot of other AAA games.
I feel like that's a uniting theme for this overall batch of music is like unusual soundtracks.
Right.
Yeah. Kyle.
Yeah, I think all of us kind of tried to go for like more obscure like stuff maybe you wouldn't have heard this year.
Yeah.
I went for a deep cut for PUBG.
Yeah, that's right. So my last one and my favorite one for this year is actually from Shantae Half Genie Hero. So let's hear it, Leo Vader.
Just one of those joke ones, Kyle.
No, I adore this. It's so funky and like upbeat and cool. I like it.
I already started playing that Donkey Kong Country song on accident.
Feel that guy just banging the bejesus out of that bass in the background too. Just that good raw sound from the studio.
Yeah.
Probably Abbey Road.
Abbey Road, yeah, that's right. That's probably what they're referring to. Yeah, this is the music that it plays when you're just like hanging out in your uncle's shop, and it's really funky and catchy, and stuck in my head forever. And
I don't hate it, Kyle. I don't hate it.
We should. Are we
Jay, seal of approval. I don't hate it.
Stamp it.
I'm sure we all had extras. Are we going to be able to shout? We don't have to listen to them, but should we shout off like our
I have
bonuses?
my number one.
I know. I'm saying after your number one.
Oh,
before you sign off.
Quick shout out. So my number one is
Harvest Moon theme.
One more time. No, it's from Night in the Woods. One of my favorite games of the year. Feel like what I feel like is the most underrated game of the year for 2017. It's definitely worth checking out. There's a Ultimate Edition coming soon to a bunch of different platforms and whatnot. But it's a song that takes place in a dream. It's Astral Alley, and it's slowly being built up throughout the course of this dream as you're platforming around. So it's layering instruments on, but it'll build from here.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Anyways, Night in the Woods, everybody, check it out. It's a cool game.
It's a great
Very
game.
unique. I think
Was
it's
it
also,
cool or great, guys?
It's everything.
It is both.
I'm just a sucker for
Great.
good violin too. Whisk me away. You don't need to play them from the booth, but other songs to check out, Brian Shea?
I intentionally avoided Breath of the Wild because I thought Kyle was for sure going to choose one.
It's the main theme.
So I would probably say either the theme that plays when you approach a guardian, that kind of like mechanical,
Oh,
like
really?
sci-fi,
Piano
or
Tinkles, I think that theme is called.
It's called
Yeah.
Piano Tinkles?
No, it just sounds like
Piano
Piano
Tinkle.
Tinkle.
or
Ghosts hate that
the approach to Hyrule Castle, the very end.
Or just the approach, or when you're in the castle?
No, like the approach, like when you're running up like the hills to get to
Okay.
Hyrule Castle.
Okay, I love the actual castle music in that.
Yeah, it's
game
cool too.
but-
I mean, there's so many great tracks on that.
Yeah. It seemed like everybody had some to shout out. So you
Yeah,
got some?
I really like the most of Nidhogg 2's soundtrack.
Yeah.
I think Hog Knuckles is maybe my favorite one. I know the name is kind of weird, but
I have to recommend one track. It'd be Hog Knuckles.
it's none of them are as good as the Clouds theme in the
Johnny
original
Carson.
Nidhogg, but Hog Knuckles I think
Hog
is probably the
Knuckles.
best of the bunch.
My Zelda themes that I did not end up going with were Lost Woods.
Oh, yeah.
Love Lost Woods. And then it's called Battle Shrine. It's like the battle music that plays in the shrines when you're fighting. Yeah, so that's really good. Then I had Arms' main theme is really
It's
cool.
really catchy.
Really?
Yeah, and then
I want everyone to know that Kyle has a very long list that he is scrolling
I have
through.
one more. 'Cause
He was asking
I
if we could do
have,
7 or
I have
8.
Jump Up Superstar in here, but we don't need to talk about that. Everyone knows that that's a great song. And the other one that I considered was the song that plays when you die in South Park. That like, you know what I'm talking about?
Can you play it? Actually, I'd love to hear that
let's see.
one.
I could
Also,
play it
while
through
he's
my phone.
while he's searching
Leo
for
can
it, I also like the other song that the person that did Jump Up Superstar did in like near the end of
Mario
yeah,
Odyssey.
Yeah, I that's a fun song. Yeah.
Dan Reichert called it a Sonic Adventure song, but
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah, he's not, but it's a super fun
And then
song
Reiner,
for the
Reiner
moment.
called it J-pop. It's not Japanese, but it's just like a hardcore, just poppy song. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's fun.
it's
Yeah,
interesting.
it's very reminiscent of Live and Learn
By the way,
from Sonic
I
Adventure.
found
is,
her
yeah.
other stuff on iTunes. It's very different from Jump Up Superstar.
Sounds like the
and,
Hellblade soundtrack.
We have an interview with her on the side.
We do. That's what made me seek her out because I was like, I really like her vocals on that.
All right,
He also
South
had
Park.
a lot of good music. So.
South Park there, Leo.
And the credits roll.
Cranky Leo.
And it hurts when they tear your dreams apart.
Is this Trey Parker?
I don't think so. I don't think it is.
Just seems to bring you down. Trying to find peace of mind can break your heart. It's so real. Right outside your front door. I'll tell ya.
I love it.
So weird. Very much that Trey Parker style. Like, it's better than it should be.
Have you encountered that in the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
South Park.
Did everyone get it right the first time you jump off the roof? Is that where everyone got it? Because
God, maybe.
I was just curious
forget.
if it forces you to die there to play this for you. I don't know if it does.
I don't know.
But anyway, that
It did
cracked
not
me
play
up.
for me the first time because I hit restart almost immediately.
Oh yeah, no, I let it. Once it started playing, I was like, I'm seeing this again. I want to hear what this is.
South Park does a very good job implementing like all the songs from the series past into the game itself. Like if you're into if you go into a store, you'll hear a song that's like in the style of that. Like if you go into Raisins, like you'll hear like the Freebird parody playing.
Yeah. Leo, I'm gonna force one on you, coming from you. Leo is, fair to say, obsessed, just tormented by the Splatoon 2 character creator song. And he was blasting it in the studio like a month ago. It's one of those like I didn't even notice it, but Leo's totally right. It is badass. If you want to try and pull it up there. Otherwise, Leo.
Splatoon 1 had an amazing soundtrack. I didn't like the Splatoon 2 soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
as
I
much.
dare you to say that with a straight face after Leo rocks your soul with this spine tingler.
Good.
Move over, rap god.
Is this rap? Is that what this is?
F yeah.
What is that?
Cool
What's it
song
about?
for kids and squids.
Does anybody else smell burning?
How dare you. All right, that's it. That's a wrap on 2017 overall. The greatest soundtracks so far.
Oh, I think we will be hated on for not choosing anything from Nier Automata, but
Sure.
I hear that soundtrack is so good that it's made me interested in playing that game. That's totally not my style.
I have
but
played the game. It does have a great soundtrack, and it has the cool thing, which Mario Odyssey also does, where it has 8-bit versions of every song.
Oh, that's right.
Because you can do like this hacking mini game type thing, and then it'll convert the song that you're hearing to 8-bit at the time.
That's awesome.
By the way, one of the late game unlocks for Super Mario Odyssey is the 8-bit version of Jump Up Superstar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I love that they hide the Japanese version of Jump Up Superstar.
Oh, yeah, that's in there
the
too.
game
That's
as
right,
well.
yeah.
That's really sweet. All right, hey, sorry this was such a long episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm sorry also
I'm
the
not.
tone was all over the place, from serious microtransactions to NBA announcer to my mom calling in, forcing herself onto this podcast.
Donkey
to
Kong Country TV
to
show
Donkey Kong
songs,
music. But again, if you liked this episode, tell a friend. We'd always appreciate it. If you didn't, keep it to yourself. But thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Game Informer Show. Be sure to tune in next Thursday, and we'll have another new episode waiting for you. Bye, everybody. Leo Vader, we can't let this music segment go by without talking about Drop Mix, which we talked about for probably way too long in this podcast, but you're also in love with this game.
It's the best.
It's the weird tabletop card game from Harmonix, and you have a hot mix that you've been champing at the bit to pipe in, so that'll be our end credits theme.
It's the best song of the year.
All right, let's take a listen.